Big Sills. And yes, thank you very much for you guys. Hey, as hardcore as you people are in here, thank you very much for the understanding of yesterday. We had a little family issue here with the wife in a car, and everything is good. We're all great. We're moving forward. The wrecker's coming to get my Hummer. Can I say that here on TV? The wrecker's coming for my Hummer. Man, I love that thing. Hey, thank you, Sue. It's all good. It's all good, you know. Wife was bitching as usual. Where is this thing? Hey, man, ask Xander, he'll tell you. Hope nothing too serious happened to you yesterday in the fam. Thank you very much. You know what? You guys are so obnoxious and so great. And you know who you are? You're me. Even you, Sue. Hey, Devin, thank you, man. You guys are great. You guys really are. Thank you so much, man. Look at Keon. Hey, man. Okay, enough pleasantries. Hey, Keon, I can't have you like this. Okay? Hey, JM, we know this. Hey, Colin, listen. Okay, guys, stop it. Now I'm feeling weird. Hey, put aside the shit talking. Glad. Thank you very much, N91. Thank you, man. Yeah, man, you guys are great. You guys are great. Okay, please stop. I'm going to think all of you need to be DNA checked. Okay? All right? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, man. Hey, stop it. I'm going to lose respect for some of you here. Thank you very much. I mean it, man. First thing Tone did too. Tone, people are showing their true side of who they are. Or no, wait, half the side of who they are. Most people that come in here and talk to me every day, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. I know. I'm feeling very uncomfortable here. Okay? Now say something so we can rip you again. There we go. Come on, Keon. I need you guys to get back to going here and again. There you go, man. All right. Hey, listen. I got to say this, man. You have a goat. Big Sales, I'm sorry I couldn't be here for you yesterday. All good, brother. All good, man. You guys are totally great. Totally great. You guys have a dog. You have a... Major League Baseball is not must-see television. Enough of the nice stuff. Show sucks. Let's get started. Hey, man, Bryce Harper is a dog. Okay? He is an absolute dog. Okay? An absolute dog. He is totally a dog. Those stare downs. Can I tell you, when I watch a Phillies game, it's like watching an Eagle game. It's like watching an Eagle game. It really is. It's like watching the Eagles, man. That crowd was awesome. Talking shit. Who do you think in Philadelphia right now is more revered? Bryce Harper or Jalen Hurts? When you look at those two athletes, man, is there another city in America that has guys like those two dudes? Let me think. Boston? Do you have anybody in Boston like that right now? Nobody with the Patriots. Maybe one of the Celtic guys? No, you know what? And the Bruins? No. Chicago? No. Los Angeles? Must see Shohei Ohtani? Chargers? Maybe. Or I mean, dude, you have two of the greatest must-see athletes in American sports today. That's a tough one. They are neck and neck. Depends on the day. Bryce Harper was sensational. I thought I was watching Reggie Jackson last night. I did. I thought I was watching Reggie Jackson. That thing was insane last night. 2 bombs last night. Have you ever seen a guy with a lower pulse in big moments than Bryce Harper? That dude, man, he is made for those moments. It looks like he was born in those moments. That's impressive. And you know what? I'm not going to sit around and talk baseball here, but what I am going to say, man, guys who shine in moments that are so stress moments and yet they look so calm is just uncommon. Like watching Jordan play, you know? It's like watching Brady play or Tiger play. Bryce Harper's got that quality of Tiger Woods to him. He just looks like I was born for this. Now, Quan, you're right. You could rename the World Series trophy after Reggie Jackson. Okay? Totally correct. You could in theory name the World Series trophy after Reggie on how great he performed. 358 or some whatever it was. All those home runs he hit, all the championships he won in Oakland and with the Yankees. Absolutely no question about it. Jackson was made for those moments too. He was a signature piece for the World Series. And Reggie, the difference between him and Harper is clearly Reggie crossed the finish line in those great World Series, and he was a star of all those teams. Crazy, man. But watching Harper last night was absolutely insane. I mean, 2 bombs in the NLDS versus Atlanta. Hey, how about the Atlanta media? Man, I got to tell you something. You guys are goats when it comes to treating opposing teams coming into your buildings. Did you see, what was her name? What was her name? Say, like some chick media reporter was complaining about her purse getting wet because they left the sprinklers on the Brave side. Pretty tacky. And I'm going like, hey, welcome to Philly. Did you think everything was going to be like, rosy for you when you came into the building? Man, I love that. Hey, relax here. All right, let's get into some football here. Thursday night football tonight, too, to start week 6 of the National Football League. Hey, welcome to Philly. She didn't like the sprinklers. At the stadium, Philly fans were screaming, we want Schneider. Hey, man, that's a great crowd. God, I love that place. Man, you guys are so my kind of fans. Bryce Harper's tied with Chipper Jones for the most National League Division Series home runs. Dude, there's just something about Harper, man. There's just something about Harper. He's got a Manny Ramirez quality about him where how many times you see Manny in those moments, man, just knocking the cover off the baseball? He was a weirdo. Broncos fire sale begins tonight. That could help the Eagles here in a minute. All right, let's get into this here. Folks, are you ready for, are you ready to be once again? Oh, I have to tell you what happened. Today on the program was supposed to be Chris Sims. He had another engagement he had to hit, especially after I found out the disrespect that he threw out this morning. We're going to have Seth Joyner at the bottom of the hour, okay? So Seth will be here for us. The segment with Tone and Jason Cole at 4:30. But he had an emergency. Get this. He had an emergency meeting he had to go to. But he dropped this nugget for you, Eagle fans. Are you ready? Him and Florio do a show, right? You know they do a show, emergency. Yeah, okay. Mike Florio has 24-23 New York Jets upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles. Chris Sims, 28-17. Eagles. Mike Florio thinks the Jets are going to beat you Sunday. Okay? Yeah, look at Keon. He goes, I knew he wasn't coming on. He's been on twice. It's not like he's not been here. Always remember, Ed Reed's the only one you can get me on. Ed Reed is the only one. Twiz, where the hell are you? Ed Reed is the only one you could get me on. Mike Florio thinks the Jets are going to upset the Eagles Sunday in New York. Emergency gynecologist. The first time in the history of the New York Jets, they're going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. I went like this to Florio when I was talking to both those guys today. I said, Mike, you really think that guy, Zach Wilson, he goes, yeah, because I don't really think much of that Philadelphia pass defense. I said, well, they were better against Stafford. So you think Zach Wilson's going to do a better job against the Philadelphia Eagle pass defense than what Stafford could in the second half especially? He goes, yeah, let's see him do it. And I went, all right. I said, okay. So they're splitting that right now between the both of them. Mike Florio thinks the Jets are winning. All right. Here's where I'm going this, and here's where we're going here. I think this Jets game is maybe one of the most important games of the season. How important do you guys think this New York Jets game is to you? I'm going to make a point why I think it's very important. How important is this Jets-Eagles game to the Philadelphia Eagles? I hear a lot of people in the media going like this. Hey, man, this is going to be a blowout. I really don't, it's not going to be a meaningful game. I'm with Tone. Every game's meaningful. Got to stack wins together. Super important, Dirty D, to show how Jalen Hurts plays against top defenses like Purdy and the Browns. Hard part of the there you Breed. Breed is trap game, Dirty. Hey, all of this is great. Home field, Quan. All right. This is why I think this game is maybe one of the more important games on the schedule. Look at what you have coming up after this Jets game. Dolphins, Commanders, who for whatever reason, the last two games have been giving you fits. Have they not? The last two games, the Commanders have been giving you fits. That's not going to be a walk in the park. Then you got Cowboys. Then you got Dubai, I believe. Then you got Chiefs, Bills, and 49ers. Look, guys, you got to play a complete game one day. You got to play a complete game. You haven't yet. Now, again, you're 5-0. That's the silver lining in this. You're not 3-2. You're not 4-1. You're 5-0. And you have yet to play a full game. Or do some of you think you've played a full game? You got to play a complete ball game eventually, don't you? When? Because you're going to get into games against that Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, 49er run. That's going to really test and see who you are. I'm not saying, get this, I'm not saying you can't beat any one of those teams. But you're not going to beat any one of those teams, including the Dolphins, playing only 30 minutes of football. Okay? Senor says, played 5 full games so far. Absolutely not. You have not played good football. The 49ers have played good football. And pretty much each and every single game that they've played in, you have not. You've had a half. Because you can't close teams out yet. That's my point. You can't close. The 49ers closed out the Cowboys. They closed the Cowboys out. They put their third team guys in. You've not been able to do that to any opponent, let alone an opponent that's pretty decent in Dallas. You're not pulling starters. You have to play 60 minutes of ball because your football team does not know how to close teams out. Okay? By the third quarter, they didn't even play the fourth quarter. Shit. I think maybe they even pulled their starters in the third, the 49ers. You got to play a complete ball game. Okay? You got to play. I'm going to bring this up with Seth here in a couple minutes. That's a concern, man. You know why you haven't played 60 minutes of ball? Because you're kicking field goals. Because you're kicking field goals. We played 64% of full Eagle potential football. Sure. By the way, great reminder by my friend Tone here. Don't forget, we're qualifying everybody right now for the Hooters gift certificates and the giveaways. And we so appreciate everybody making it happen. All you have to do is identify the code word. You end up emailing us, dansilioshow@gmail.com. We will get the gift certificates to you. We name a winner on a football Monday, each and every single Monday. Our great friends at Hooters in the 40th anniversary of that great restaurant. We appreciate those guys being part of the program so much. So you identify the code word throughout the entire 4 hours of the program. All you have to do is send your information to that email, and you can be like Mike and Don and win those gift certificates. Very simple. We do it Tuesday through Friday, so you still have an opportunity if you miss out today. Don't forget Dan Sileo Show at gmail.com. We so appreciate it. First quarter of every season, I would say this to you, that the Eagles right now, that was a good second half against the Rams. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if they can put another performance together where they're going to be able to play 60 minutes. This Jets team is not horrible. They're still hanging in there at 2-3. Could they sneak in the back door? I'll say one thing about the teams that are sitting at 2-3 in the AFC. I think somebody said it yesterday. You know, the AFC is not as advertised as what I thought it was going to be. I thought the AFC was going to be a lot better than the NFC. Would we agree? Who are the top two teams in the AFC if you were to say right now? Miami and who? Sills, I agree with you. I would love to see Howie trade for a red zone running back, maybe like Derrick Henry. As a matter of fact, I didn't get a chance to get to those names, and we're going to get to those names after Seth. We're going to talk about something like that. I don't believe, once again, that's not the MO of the Eagles and how they operate. They're going to be looking for somebody with low economics involved with it, but still has some gas in the tank, maybe somebody younger. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I think they will be in the market for a running back. The Philadelphia Eagles right now, if I were to say one thing that they don't have on that team, they don't have a power game inside the red zone. They just don't. You don't score touchdowns. How can you be the second-ranked team in the NFL when it comes to running the ball and you don't have a power game inside the red zone? You don't run the ball well inside the red zone. You don't throw the ball well inside the red zone. And the numbers are this. You don't score touchdowns in the red zone. You do none of that. And that's why you're behind San Francisco. I mean, one of the things that you go back and if you start watching the 22, and the thing that I would like to see happen, throw that football up for AJ. Let him go get that. Get him. I say he wins 70% out of every jump ball. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Chris goes, Derrick Henry's done. How could a guy be done that had 1,500 yards last year? And by the way, Chris, if you spot played him and you put him on the goal line and you put him in the red zone and didn't give him the ball 33 times, I would take Derrick Henry with this number. 8 carries, 10 carries, 5.2 yards a game, 55 yards. I'm good with that because you know why? In the red zone, That's all I need him for. Because Swift has got it from 20 to 20. We're good. You talk about a guy who could loosen you up too a little bit. And maybe even preserve DeAndre Swift a little bit. That's another one too, Quan. Goddard should be a main target in the red zone. I still think they're figuring it out a little bit here. I do, man. Look, they're figuring out 20 to 20, but they have not figured out red zone. That's why, again, I think this is a great test for them. This is good. Now, do I think the Jets have a better defense than the Dolphins? They're underperforming the Jets. But I do think they do have better personnel. I want to see how this Eagle offense operates against this New York Jets defense. Look, I think their offense, they've got some really good skilled people, but they don't have very good power people. Their offensive linemen right now, it's not as good as even New England's. And New England doesn't have a very good offensive line. They don't. And they still were able to do things because they had quick hitch passes. I want to see a complete ball game. Okay? Or I never said the Rams would win. That's an absolute lie. Okay? I never said Hogan. Okay, I got you. Yeah. That's right. He may have said that. Okay, I got you, Jesus. Yeah, I have not said that the Eagles are going to lose any game yet so far this year. But I have said this about them, that they have kept every single team in games because of them not being able to have a red zone. When we hit our peak, nobody's running, beating us. Only team that is scary is the 49ers, literally. They're built like us. I would say this for you, though, NS, that you're not as deep as you were a year ago. And that's the one thing I look at San Francisco. San Francisco, I don't think has a deep roster right now. I don't think they could sustain a ton of injuries. Now, the Randy Gregory pickup is a good one because it strengthens your depth. And if I were Howie, I would be looking at some of the guys a little bit on strength of depth. I'd like to get Leonard Fournette in the building, like we said the other day. Get Lenny in there. Leonard Fournette could catch the football. I think he'd be a great red zone back. See, you can read – LeGarrette Blount was redefined by the Patriots. I remember when he came to Tampa, and I was on the air in Tampa. Tone, you're going to love this, man. This kid was not drafted because of that unfortunate situation that he had at Oregon. I think it was the Boise State game. He knocked the kid out, and it was really ugly. And he didn't get drafted. People didn't like him for character. John Gruden, and I think it was Bruce Allen, and those guys signed him as a UDFA. He comes in the game, and that guy gained, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had 1,000 yards in like 11 ball games or something. It was unbelievable watching him play. When you saw LeGarrette Blount. Am I right when I say that? LeGarrette Blount had 1,000 yards his rookie year with the Bucs. I was on the air, and I remember, and it was like 8-9 games or something crazy. And they had found this guy, and I'm like, this guy's a first-round draft choice. And the reason that they didn't make him a first-round designation was because of what happened when he was at Oregon, and he knocked that guy out. But I think Tony Dungy may have spoke for him because his kid played at Oregon or something like that. He was so amazing. Well, what happened? He started evolving into a short yardage back. Wasn't it 1 year up in New England? Hey, maybe even with you guys, how many TDs did he score in the red zone? They redefined him. I think he had like 17 touchdowns 1 year in New England. When he was running red zone, I think it was like 17. He just redefined himself and he was comfortable in that role. He even went to you guys and did the same thing. Leonard Fournette could be that kind of guy. As long as players are willing to adapt and adjust, you could extend players' careers for a long time, man. I mean, you totally can. Fournette is the only good inside the 5, but Jalen is better 5 tushes, 4 TDs. Fournette was 8 to. Hey, dude, I want to have both options. I want a power back and Hurts. Okay? I want a power back and Hurts. Cosmo brings a point up that someone brought up to me today. I'll continue this here a little bit about the Jets. And one thing about Purdy. You know, in 10 football games, that guy's got 22 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. You know that? Now, I know they're split up, 5 last year and 5 this year. But he's got 22 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. You find that number high and low? He's got 22 touchdowns and 4 picks. I mean, have you seen anything like that in your entire life ever? On what that guy's doing? Can you name me a guy that you ever – Brady had 12 interceptions his first year, I think. And his first full season. I think he had 12 picks. Have you seen anything like that in your entire life? And the time you've been following or covering football, where you've seen a guy in his first 10 starts start his career off like that? Nick Foles started his career like Brock Purdy? Wait, that was Foles' rookie year? Or his first 10 starts? He had 27 TDs and 2 picks. And his first 10 starts? I mean, really? That was Foles' first year? Have you ever that wasn't Foles' first year. Have you ever seen a guy in his first 10 starts throw up 22 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and not lose a ball game and play like the best quarterback in the league right now? That guy's delivering, man. That guy's delivering. He is playing the best quarterback of any, and you guys in Philly can't do this. Hey, well, you know, he's got great players around him. So does Jalen. You can't use that excuse. I mean, you basically have mirrors of the same offense. Tight ends hot, 2 wide receivers. You got probably a better O-line. They got better backs, in my opinion, than what the Eagles do. And they actually have a red zone offense. Marino? Okay. Sills, you just like Purdy because he is Purdy. No, I like him because he's winning and he's effective and he's efficient. Dude, what's his completion percentage right now on the season? He's got to be leading the NFL. I've never seen anything like this. I'm going to ask Seth when he hits the show. Have you ever seen a quarterback burst onto the scene and you guys bring up a good name, Dan Marino? Do you know this guy wasn't invited to any of the combines? He wasn't invited to any of the all-star games so he could put his talents on display. He wasn't invited to any of that. He wasn't invited to any. I've never seen, and before I get set on, I've never seen a quarterback in 10 starts have 22 touchdowns, 4 picks, not lose a ball game. Now, look again, I know it's fragmented because it's last year and this year. And I've never seen anything like it. His completion percentage is 72%. And this is what Seth and I were talking about the other night. You know, when you don't get to go to the combines and you don't get to go to all the all-star shows, you know what you can't do? You know what happens? You can't put your talents on display. That's what happened to him. Let's bring our friend Seth Joyner on and get his thoughts on what he's looking at so far in the first 5 games of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Seth, thanks so much for doing this. Seth, have you ever seen anything like what you're seeing right now with Brock Purdy?
No. And to be honest with you, I think everybody's waiting for the clock to strike 12, and he just keeps proving them wrong.
I would say this to you, Seth. I think maybe that's the problem with the evaluation of him, just like it was with Jalen. Jalen wasn't a first-round draft choice. Is he really that guy? Is he really that guy? He finally proved he was that guy. That's what this guy's going through. Hey, real quick before we get to the Eagles, what do you think? Do you think the 49ers right now are playing the best football of anybody in the NFL?
Yeah, I think they are. I do believe that they are, but I would caution that you want to be peaking at the right time of the year, not at the early point of the year. And I think that all the dynamics are just right for San Francisco. They haven't had any major injuries yet. The one thing about Brock Purdy is, listen, he's got one of the most dynamic guys that he can turn around and hand the ball off to behind him. And I've always said, and it's happening, when you can run the football, the rest of your playbook is wide open. You can run anything within the scheme of that playbook that you want to run when you're effectively running the football. And they're doing that with Christian McCaffrey, not only with him running the football, but also with him being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. And you're seeing a lot of play action pass and a lot of creativity coming off of Christian McCaffrey actually running the football. That's what makes things easy for a young quarterback. And then his high football IQ to know where everybody is on the field, to understand coverages, and to throw the ball with great anticipation. That's another thing that he has working at his benefit, is the fact that he understands where to go with the football. He throws with great anticipation, and play action buys him the time that's necessary for him to get the ball where he wants to get it.
Seth, the Eagles now. Is Sean Desai an upgrade from Jonathan Gannon from last year's defensive coordinator, in your opinion?
Well, absolutely. A lot of people will look at the 70 sacks, in the regular season last year and say, well, how do you beat that? That's more on the players than it necessarily was on Jonathan Gannon. When the defense needed to make adjustments at the most critical times, he had no answers. Like in the Super Bowl, he had no answer for Patrick Mahomes. Most defensive coordinators don't really have much of an answer. But there are certain situations, especially with Patrick Mahomes being hobbled last year in the Super Bowl, you had an opportunity to affect him in some ways, and you kept relying on the 4-man rush to get there. That couldn't get there on a field that wouldn't allow them to get there, and you made no adjustments to that. So when I look at what Sean Desai has done, they went in at halftime last week and they made adjustments. It looked like Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford was going to run them right out of SoFi Stadium. In the second half, they were 1 for 7 on third down conversions, and the 4 possessions they had, or 5 possessions they had in the second half, they went punt, 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 turnover on downs in the game.
Absolutely. I thought he was. And what else? And is it me, Seth? He's bringing more pressure because maybe he's not comfortable with the safety position. So he saw that middle zone opened up again like it's been for 2 years. And I saw something that he did because, like, you're watching Kupp come across the middle. They're doing those crossing routes like they like to do in Los Angeles. You see him there. You're going, it's wide open. It's just wide open. What he did then, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to make it uncomfortable. And for them to make it uncomfortable for Matthew Stafford, who has seen everything like that, that's the first time I saw creativity from a D coordinator in 2.5 years, because he saw what he was doing and he countered Stafford, which really made me feel a lot better about the side, and maybe that pass defense getting better.
Well, listen, there's not a single quarterback in the NFL that is, adverse to pressure. Most of them respond to pressure in the same way. Some of them are less able to handle the pressure than others, especially when you're talking about if you got a quarterback that is a pocket passer, he's a spot guy, you know, you can affect him with pressure more quickly than you can a guy who can escape. Like pressure doesn't mean anything to Jalen Hurts, because if he's got one guy to make miss, 7 out of 10 times he's going to make that one guy miss. But when you're talking about a guy like Matthew Stafford, he has to have protection. He has to have, max protection so that he can stand in the pocket, survey the field, have time to throw it. Because if you move him off of his spot, now he's uncomfortable. And now you make him speed up the process of reading and decision making. That's why I always say it's important for, for defensive coordinators, even in today's age where they're throwing the ball as much as they are and sight adjusting the way that they are, is you still have to bring pressure. Because even with the pressure that he was bringing, he only gave Stafford one read. And that's the whole intent of pressure, is to speed everything up, give you one read so that you either make a mistake, have an incompletion, or if it's first or second down, I get you behind the sticks, and I force you to play from behind the sticks. That's the reason. I don't care if you're on pace to make 100 sacks in a season. You can't leave it up to those guys up front all the time. You affect field position and you affect flow of the game and you affect the quarterback by bringing pressure and blitzing him and making him do things that are uncharacteristic to him.
Seth, this is why I love talking to you, man. I haven't heard spot since Buddy came down and talked to me and Jerome in '86 about moving statue quarterbacks or drop back quarterbacks off their spot. Then I heard Monty Kiffin bring that up to me once, and that's how they used to get to Kurt Warner, because every quarterback has a spot, and especially in the 7-step guy. That's what makes these dual threat guys more difficult. And I would even say this. I tried telling people this. And Seth, you know this. One of the things when you were going to play against the 49ers, you were like, man, I surely hope Montana's healthy, because I don't want to see that guy Young out there, because that guy Young moved around and he ran 4.4s. I mean, do you agree? And I'm getting to Jalen here. Seth, I think this guy's got to run more, because when he runs more and he looks like he did in that game against the Rams, when he gets that third down and he breaks the back of that defense, man, the pass, I get it. I understand the deep throws, but that play there breaks a defense's back more. I've gone to the other side with this, Seth. I wonder where you are. I want to see 11 to 12 carries a game, 50 yards, 275 yards passing, because that's who that guy's ID is, right?
Well, this is my take on it, because he carried the ball 15 times the other day. And what I'd like for the NFL to do is to figure out a way to differentiate between what's a called quarterback run and what's a scramble, because he can drop back to pass the ball, but the minute that things break down and he takes off, now it's determined to be a run. That's not really true, So people get upset, with all of these different elements of, oh, Jalen ran it too much. He ran a ball 15 times the other day. And there were times last year we ran it, 17 to 20 times. And people, oh, he's running the ball too much. Well, if you're going to run RPO, then there's an opportunity there. And there's a chance that he may read that he may have to keep it and he may have to run it. Okay. If you're going to pass it and the pass play breaks down, he's going to take off and he's going to run, especially if it's man coverage. If it's zone, he's going to scramble, horizontal to the line of scrimmage and try to buy time for guys to adjust and come back and go deep. I prefer to see him play from the pocket and then turn around and use his athleticism when everything goes to hell in the handbasket. And this is why I say that, because I believe that the NFL over the years, offensive coordinators have done, black quarterbacks a disservice, because they come from the college ranks, they have the ability to run, and instead of making them learn how to play the quarterback position and then use their athleticism when things break down, they devise a system for them to operate in based upon their running skills. Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, RG3. The list goes on and on. And when these guys get hurt and their lifespan as a quarterback diminishes, as it will until they learn how to play the quarterback position and use their athleticism secondarily. There's a history there. And I just want to see the change. Like if I was a GM or if I was a head coach and I drafted, a guy like Richardson, I would say, okay, if you're not an efficient passer of the game and you can't read and you can't work through a progression, you're going to sit over here until you learn how. Because as athletic as you are, that's fine. Sooner or later, the odds say that it's going to catch up with you. Okay, somebody's going to catch you. It happened with Jalen Hurts last year.
I mean, I don't think it's sustainable either.
No, so that's why I'm not a big fan of when I see him run. Now, with Jalen, there's a difference. He's trying to become that pocket passer. Okay, and you saw him last week operate from the pocket. You saw him throw the ball on the run, but you also seen him be able to run. Now, there's going to be some times in the game, in my opinion, when you need a first down or the game is on the run, revert to who you are and do what you got to do to get the win. Okay, but for the most part, I want to see him play quarterback. That's what I want to see him do. I want to see him operate from the pocket, run the offense from the pocket, and when all else fails, now use your athleticism and your God-given talents and get out and go make us a play to help to keep the drive alive or help us win the football game.
Damn, Seth. I never looked at it that black quarterbacks were coached differently for systems made because they wanted to use their wheels more, which meant that it was a lack of the arm development and the lack of continuing to improve your arm. And they just relied, like Vic, go down the history of the multitask quarterback or the dual threat guy. They never really ever wanted to develop the arm, nor did they want to take the time to develop the arm. They just used the athleticism. And like you said, that's why these guys, they just don't last, and there's not a high ceiling for them.
Dan, you know what I do?
That's crazy. That's crazy great.
I give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit, okay? So much more so, than some of the aforementioned guys that I mentioned, okay? Because when Jalen came in to the NFL, 53rd pick, second round, everyone had reservations about A, what's his arm strength like? B, can he read defenses? So he got thrown in those last 4 games of the season. Doug Peterson's last year, and then Doug got fired, and then he came back and. Nick Sirianni's first year, the team went 9-7 and made it to the playoffs, but there were still questions, whether he could be the franchise, whether he could make all the throws, whether he could read the defense, and whether he could operate outside of just, the read option and the RPO scheme. And you know what he did that offseason? He went out to California. He got with Tom House, Tom Brady's quarterback coach, and he went to work. And he came back last year and was an all-pro quarterback, the top quarterback in the National Football Conference. First team not first team all-pro, but, you get what I'm saying. He was
the best in his conference.
Yeah, first in his conference. Okay, not only running the ball, but throwing the ball. And if he's healthy through those 2 games that he gets hurt, he's probably going to win the MVP. But my point is that he saw that he had to get better. And he went outside the box and went and got the help and found the person and found the group of people that could help make him better. Now I'm sick and tired of watching guys like Lamar Jackson come into the league and, Greg Roman gets him and he creates this offense where, it's tight end base. You ain't got no wide receivers. We're going to allow, we're going to rely on Lamar Jackson to do it all, I think you arrested and stunted his growth as a quarterback by not making him learn how to play the position. And I get it. Things are different today. When you draft a guy in the first round, you want that guy on the field right now. But if he's not ready, then you do him a disservice by throwing him out there and devising a system that works around his skill set rather than making him go and learn how to be a professional quarterback, how to throw the ball on time, how to throw the ball on rhythm, how to read the defense, how to understand how to go through a progression. Make him do that. Because now your investment in this kid, when you got to spend $50 million a year on him, it's going to be warranted. But the way that Lamar Jackson is right now, and I love the kid. I loved him when he came out of college. He has not taken the Baltimore Ravens to a Super Bowl anytime soon with him constructed as a quarterback the way that he is. It's just not going to happen.
Seth, did you get this take because you saw the lack maybe of coaching and development with Randall and how they handled Randall? Because I'm assuming that because it was such a centric defensive-minded organization at the time, I wonder how much of the coaching, because you're looking at maybe a more, to me, Randall Cunningham, Jalen Hurts, I'm sorry, no disrespect to anybody, but if Cunningham plays in today's NFL, he's Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's Mahomes in today's NFL. If he had Andy Reid, I wonder what that thing would have looked at. Look what he did with Brian Billick when he was up in Minnesota, and he had some great coaches and some great players. Is that what you saw with Randall when he was in Philly, when you were looking on the other side of the ball?
Well, Dan, it's a combination of things. I mean, I've seen it with Randall. I've seen it with multiple other quarterbacks that have come through the league. Think about the guys who were drafted, African American quarterbacks that was drafted in the first round that flamed out after 2 or 3 years, And then I think back about a guy like, Doug Williams, first African American guy to actually win a Super Bowl. And I'm watching him play and I'm watching him operate an offense in an era where it was believed that black quarterbacks couldn't operate an offense, wasn't smart enough to, or didn't have the leadership traits to actually lead a team. And then you watch a guy like Warren Moon come on the scene and operate and become a Hall of Famer. It's possible, but do these organizations have the patience, to develop these guys to be what they can potentially fully be? And if the organization isn't, then as a player, you have to take it upon yourself in the offseason to go outside the confines, of your team and find somebody because there's plenty of great quarterback coaches out there now. There's position gurus all over the place, pass rusher, offensive line, quarterbacks, you name it. There's places where you can go in the offseason where they can prime your fundamentals and your technique and get your eyes right. And there's technology, there's all of this stuff to help make you a better player, and I just want to see these young players go and take advantage of it for not only for longevity, but for success. Because I always felt like if a coach has to do more for me than just hand me a game plan on Wednesday morning. Okay. He's got to figure out a way to help make me a better football player fundamentally and technically. And if that guy can't teach and show me anything that can help make me, a better fundamental or technical player, then just hand me my game plan on Wednesday and leave me the hell alone the rest of the week. Because if I'm making a mistake and you can't tell me how to fix it, then what's the problem? What's the point of you being a coach? And I see this a lot where I see players making the same mistakes over and over and over and over. In my day, the coaching staff wouldn't allow you to do that because you either make the corrections or you come over here and you stand next to us. We'll find somebody else that will. But now these guys are in a position where, well, this is our guy. We can't cut guys and let guys go because of the rules as far as salaries and all of that stuff is, for veterans after 3 games. And there's just a whole plethora of things that goes into it. But as a player, there's no one more responsible for your success than you. And if your position coach cannot give you the tools to be the success that you want to, then it's upon you. It's incumbent upon you to go find that person that can. And he's out there.
Seth, do you have time for a couple more questions here?
Yeah.
Okay, Seth, I threw this off people yesterday, and I told them what you were just talking about with the business of football, and it's playing out right now, and it just shows me sometimes what Doug Peterson had to fight a little bit. You got two linebackers right now that are playing really well. Nicholas Morrow, according to Pro Football Focus, however you look at that, is one of the top three linebackers productive-wise in the National Football League right now. And he has made himself from a guy who was cut from the roster to the practice squad. Now he's playing well. He's gone up the ranks, and he's earned this. But now all of a sudden we're hearing that Nakobe Dean's taking reps for this weekend against the Jets. And I'm sitting there and I told people this. Well, here's the business of the game. Morrow is a mercenary free agent. That's a third-round draft choice. Howie's married to those guys. There's guys over here on this side of the building that are putting pressure on the coaching staff. I mean, this is why I think you'd struggle, Seth, being a coach, because you would have to look at that guy and go, I ain't playing that kid. I'll play that kid when this kid right here starts showing me that he can't get it done. But right now, they're getting into sandboxes again here a little bit like they did with Doug. How would you handle the Nakobe Dean situation?
You know, I threw this out. I threw this scenario out 2 weeks ago on my TV show and my podcast. I said, you know, if you're in Nick Sirianni's shoes and Sean Desai's shoes, and Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham continue to play as well as they played, when Nakobe Dean is ready, what decision do you make? Okay. I get it. A player, and I agree to a certain extent, a player should never, ever lose his position because of injury. But I also believe that if a guy is being productive, it's going to be hard as a coach to take him off the field, because it's just, you know, you're playing players. Players are in position because of, you know, how productive they've been. You know, it's not Nicholas Morrow's fault that Nakobe Dean got hurt. You know, and let me just say this, Dan. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to a guy is to get cut, because it's an eye opener. You understand what I'm saying? For me, I look back at it, and a lot of people, you know, Mike Quick was saying, man, when I saw them cut Seth and seeing him leaving the building, I was like, what the hell's going on? But it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. You understand what I'm saying? Because
Did it refocus you?
Say it again.
Did it refocus you and did it make you get refocused and hungry again and all that?
Absolutely, because this is what happened. I sat on my mom's couch in New York for 2 weeks in a row, and I watched the Eagles lose to the Chicago Bears week 1. Watched them lose to the Washington Redskins at the time in week 2 in back-to-back games. It was the most miserable time of my life. Okay. So when I got back, my thought was, okay, I'm not leaving again. If I leave, it will be politics. It won't be because I haven't prepared and done everything that I could and worked hard and shown the zeal, you know, for wanting to be the best player that I could be. I was on all the special teams except for field goal. Okay. And, you know, if they needed a wide receiver on a show team, hey, I jumped in. If they needed an offensive line, hey, I jumped. They had to tell me to get the hell out of the way. You understand what I'm saying? But it wasn't going to be because of something that I didn't do, you know. And I can remember the first week that I found out that I was starting, I came in on Wednesday morning. The linebacker coach was like, hey, go over and see Buddy. I'm like, shit, they're gonna cut me again. So I get over there, walk in Buddy's office. He looks at me. He says, hey, you know, learn your shit. I'm starting you this week, not because I want to, but because I have to. We had a lot of injuries, you know, and I was never not a starter from that game forward. And that being cut kind of refocuses you. So there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of guys that need that. You know, I'm not saying that I necessarily needed it, but, you know, it was a benefit to me because I was always prepared. Not only was I prepared on the special team stuff, but I prepared each and every week like I was a starter. So when I got a chance to play, it was like I'd been starting all along, even though I wasn't getting any reps, because I knew what to do, because I was studying and preparing like as if I was the starter, you know.
Hold up. This is later in your career, not earlier.
No. This is my rookie year.
Oh, you were cut?
Yes. The first 2 games of my rookie year.
Unbelievable. I asked you about Brock Purdy. Have you ever seen it again? And you were freaking cut. I didn't know that, Seth.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable, man. You must be so proud of your journey, dude, that what you went through and how you got there. And for that coach to, I mean, perfect example of Buddy Ryan going, hey, I don't want to start you, but I have to. And then you didn't start ever again, not for him. And Philly is crazy great.
Well, sometimes for many guys, it's a matter of trying to, get the coaching staff to see what it is that you can really do. I mean, listen, they had a full slate of veterans that was here when I got here. They drafted 3 other linebackers in front of me. A kid out of Florida who was All-American outside backer. He, right behind Wilbur Marshall, Alonzo Johnson. He was a hell of a athlete, and a much better athlete than I was. But he didn't have this, and he didn't have this. That was the difference. Maybe if I was a second round draft pick, I wouldn't have had this or this, but I knew that I was up against it. So I had to do everything in my power to stick around long enough for the opportunity to show them what I could be. And Buddy always had this thing that if you were a hellraiser on special teams, that, if we could figure out how to translate that into your position, that we might have something. And that's what I was. I was a special teams, demon. And the opportunity presented itself for me to show them that I could play linebacker and that I was ready and I was prepared. And from that point on, the best thing that happened, it was my rookie season. And they were still trying to build out the roster, still trying to build the team and trying to figure out who was going to be there. And I can remember when the season was over, I went in for my exit interview and Buddy looked at me. He's like, hey, you got your foot in the door. Kick that son of a bitch open now. It's your job to win or lose. And the worst thing he could have did was tell me that, because I went home and went to work.
I love that, Seth. You know what, too? Back in your day, it wouldn't be anything to sit there and look and go, well, there's Seth Joyner, there's Wes Hopkins, there's all the great players that you guys, Andre Waters. And you look at New York, you'd have Lawrence Taylor, you'd have Carl Banks, you'd have Gary Reasons or Harry Carson all on the kickoff team. You guys, I mean, you go to Philly and there's Seth and Wes and all these guys. You look at New York, you had LT. Dude, it's special teams, man. You better have your chin strap on or you're going to get the shit knocked out of you.
Yeah.
One more question here for you. Red zone. They're not very effective right now in the red zone. And now what you got these games, I said this, why this Jets game is very important, because you got to put together, I think, a 60-minute game, because then you got the Dolphins. And for whatever reason, the Commanders have been giving you trouble the last 2 games. You got the Cowboys, then you got the bye. Then you got Chiefs, Bills, and 49ers. It's got to be now or never, right, Seth? We see a 60-minute ball game, because I think so far we've probably seen a 64%. If I were going to look at them playing complete ball games, I have not seen a complete ball game, and I think they're hanging around that 65% number. That number's got to get better if you want to really be a Super Bowl team.
Well, they're really lower than that. I mean, last year they was 68% on red zone efficiency, and they ranked 3rd in the National Football League. This year, through 5 games, they are 42, somewhere between 42 and 48%.
So it's like 27th.
27th, yes. So they definitely got to get better. I don't know whether, they're saving some things for that stretch when they need to, really get them. They're running Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, too much down the red zone. Way too much. I mean, there was one possession where Jake Elliott wound up kicking a 20-something yard field goal, where I think they ran Jalen like 3 times. They ran him up the middle and tried to get him around the corner twice. And I'm like, you got running backs. Turn around and give the damn ball to your running backs and let your offensive line do what they do. You've got A.J. Brown, who's 220 pounds, playing against cornerbacks that are 200 pounds max, that when he runs that slant route and boxes a guy out and gets him on his back, he can't get around the front of him to make the play if he doesn't, pass interfere on him. And then you got Dallas Goedert, who you can line up outside and throw, jump ball fades to, or run play action passes and have him sneak out, on the other side, or Jordan Mailata, line him up at tight end and sneak him out the other. There's so many different things that they can do to be a lot more efficient. And they're really, their efficiency is really bad in the area of, the 5 and in.
Yeah.
Which is really astounding when you think about, they're the number one, rush team in the league at 159 yards per game, and they're averaging well over, 4.5 yards a carry. You would think that you could just turn around and hand the ball off to any one of those running backs and punch it in. But inside the 5, they are like very, very pedestrian. And that's going to be the area where they're really going to have to improve. And to your point, when you get down inside the 20, you got to walk away with 7. It's worked thus far that you can get away with kicking field goals. And I think Jake Elliott might be leading the league damn near in scoring. Off of just kicking field goals and extra points. But when you play against that murderous row of teams that you were just talking about, you're going to have to put the ball in the end zone. Field goals aren't going to do it unless you're kicking them to win the game at the end with 5 seconds left on the clock.
Would you bring a guy like Leonard Fournette in for a red zone like you did in 17 when you had LeGarrette Blount on the team? Somebody down in there, because DeAndre Swift, he was taken out in Detroit, Seth. They had a specialist up there for him, and he wasn't – I don't think the Eagles look at him as a red zone threat down there. And like you said, you just said it, they'd rather run the quarterback than DeAndre Swift down there when it comes to red zone. And so, I mean, do you think they need another addition for him?
I think what they need to do is
they just need to do what you said. Throw the damn ball up to AJ, man. He's going to get 70% of those jump balls if you just throw it up to him.
My thing is run the ball. Your offensive line is good enough to move people off the ball.
They are.
You've got 2 guys that are 340 plus over on the left side of your offensive line. Load up over there. Put, Goddard or Jack Stoll in the fullback position and just run the ball over those 2 big guys. You don't have to. DeAndre Swift is in the best shape that he's been in probably since he's been in the National Football League. I don't know if people are looking at him. His body type doesn't even look the same. The other thing is the competition level is so high between he and Kenneth Gainwell because Kenneth Gainwell realizes that, you know what, hey, I was the number 1 guy going in. I got injured and gave this guy a crack, and now he's taking over the number 1 spot. So every time that Kenneth Gainwell gets in the game and gets his hands on the ball, he is just running like a man possessed, So experiment and see whether these guys can get it done in the red zone before you turn around and go and bring in another guy. I'm not saying that they don't need another guy, a big body or whatever it is, but you haven't figured out yourself whether the guys that you have can do it or not, because you try to do so much with Jalen Hurts running the ball in the red zone. Come on, man, think about it. Your quarterback leads you in rushing touchdowns. Something's wrong with that picture. You understand what I'm saying? And a lot of those are just tush push. You don't even have to do the tush push. Turn around and hand the ball off. You need 1 yard. 1 yard.
Hey, Seth, final question for you here on Swift. It's the most he's had when it comes to carries in his entire career. He's always hung around 8, 7. He's now up near 15 and a half, 16 carries a game. He's on pace for something like maybe 238, 240, which would just blow away anything he's ever done. He's on pace for 1,400 yards rushing, 300 yards receiving. It's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles do in the offseason with him because he's in a contract year. I doubt they sign him, but he's going to be wealthy in the offseason. Do you think they're giving him the ball too much? And do you think that they should cut that back, or do you think they should run that guy till the wheels fall off?
You talking Swift? No.
Yeah.
I just think that, listen, it amazes me because, I saw a video. His dad is like a fitness guru.
Yeah.
And it really blew my mind that, it wasn't until this year that you really seen a shift, in how he's prepared for this season. But I also saw a video of him training, him running in the sand and doing a myriad of different things. So it's pretty obvious to me that, he realized that his body couldn't hold up the way that he was formerly training and the way that he needed it to, and it was going to affect him with his contract coming up after this season. I'm not saying that you got to run him in the ground, but the Eagles primarily keep their running backs somewhere around, 18 to 15 touches overall. And if you go and you look, the only game where he had more than that, I think he had 25 carries in that game where I think he had 175 yards.
Minnesota?
Because it may have been Minnesota. But they needed him. They needed him to carry the ball that many times in order for them to win the game. Now that they got Gainwell back, you're starting to see, okay, Swift is getting anywhere from 15 to 17 touches. Gainwell's getting maybe, 8 to 10. So I don't think they're running him in the ground, but I do believe if the guy's hot and he's healthy and you're giving him rest away and you're sparing him the way that you should in the game, that you don't change the plan. I mean, you ride it. I'm not saying that you turn around, you give him the ball 25, 30 times every single game, even if that's a combined 20 carries and 5 catches. That's too many touches for, a guy like him. But I think at the end of the day, if he gets hot and you're in a situation, listen, if they're playing against San Francisco or Kansas City or Miami or Dallas and he's running hot, you're not going to stop giving him the ball, man.
No.
Even if that means he's got to get 25 to 30 touches, because those are games that you have to win. You can't afford to lose those games, or you can't afford to lose too many of those games. I mean, you're trying to keep pace with San Francisco, and your schedule is quite a bit more difficult than San Francisco's is. They're playing, in their divisions, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. Those are teams that they plan on beating every time that they play them. The worst case for the Eagles, worst case scenario for the Eagles is that, hey, they split with Dallas. So somewhere along the way, they're going to have to get San Francisco to lose 2 or 3 games in order for them to win the conference, in order for them to have home field, in order to get to the NFC Championship and have it, here in Philadelphia, rather than having to go to San Francisco to get it done. So it really comes down to what you have to do and when you have to do it. Spare him this time of the year. Give Kenneth Gainwell some of them touches. Start getting Boston Scott, acclimated, giving him some of those touches. But when it comes, nut crunching time, hey, you're not holding back. That guy gives you the best option to win. Then you got to put him on the field and play him.
Seth, I want to sneak this in on the Cowboys. May I please? Listen, I have never in my life seen more of a delusional team in my life than the Dallas Cowboys. This guy, Micah Parsons, is going around after he got his shit kicked in, and he's saying we're just as good as a playoff team as the 49ers. You got guys saying we had a bad night. I'm like, that's not the only problem. Arizona beat the shit out of you and ran the ball down your throat. Seth, I've never seen anything like it where you're looking at Jason Kelce bitching because he's concerned about what you and I were talking about, red zone, and we can't be kicking field goals. He's bitching about, and they're 5-0. These guys there lies the difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys. And for people to continue, and you even tweeted at me once, that guy, I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to hit the drum, and I had Phil Sims on the other day. If the next guy tells me that guy 11, who in my opinion, he's not better than Pat Swilling, okay? He's not better than Pat Swilling. Pat Swilling was an NFL Defensive Player of the Year. That guy is not an aggressive guy. He is not a physical player, Seth. He's not. You can run at him. You couldn't run at freaking Taylor. I mean, the guy you played with, Reggie and Lawrence Taylor, Seth, even when you guys lost, they didn't have bad games. It's just what I can't get Dallas. No wonder you guys got after their asses all the time, because it's insane to listen to. Now, you have to excuse me, Seth, because for me, I'm learning this now talking to Philly people, and I'm like, dude, that team's delusional. The two bullies on the block right now, the 49ers and Eagles.
Well, but I mean, that's Jerry. Jerry has this holier than thou mentality about his football team that they're better than what they were. Listen, if you'd have left Jimmy Johnson alone, you probably would have won 2 more, championships. But you haven't done anything since you made that fatal move to let him go, because he wanted all the credit instead of realizing that he owns the team. He's going to get the credit anyway. He's going to get the Lombardi trophies. Just let Jimmy do what he does, and it's haunted him all of these years. And they preach this nonsense about, oh, America's team and we're this and we're that. And, all you do is you hear the chatter. Okay. You hear them talking. You heard last year after the Eagles beat the 49ers, you heard them talking. Kyle Shanahan's finally got them to shut the hell up, because I said that they're going nowhere until they let that loss go and stop bitching and complaining about, losing to the Eagles. You lost the game. You didn't just lose the game. Debo saying, oh, we had a quarterback, we would have won. No, well, the truth is we beat your damn quarterback up. We knocked him out of the game. As a matter of fact, we knocked both of them out of the game. So, if and buts was candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, okay? But the truth of the matter is we put you in that position. And, oh, by the way, your number one defense gave up 31 points to our offense, okay? So if you were that great, then you wouldn't have gave up those types of points. That's neither here nor there. But I give you that to give you the whole thing with Dallas. All you hear is the chirping. They're just talking. There's something about talking and writing checks that your ass can't cash that gets you in trouble. Just shut up and play, man. If you're that good, let your play speak for you. What do you hear the Eagles talking about? What do you hear the Kansas City Chiefs talking about? What do you hear top football teams talking about? Even San Francisco has learned how to shut their mouth and just play, because karma is a you-know-what, and it always catches up with you. Now, Micah, the Eagles put the game plan out.
Do you think Micah Parsons is overrated?
No, I think he's a hell of a player who needs to learn how to play the run, because the Eagles have figured out a way, have given everyone else the blueprint. If you go back to last year, what the Eagles did was they know that he's always going to be lined up on the weak side. So you can't line the tight end up on him and think you're going to run at him that way, unless you put Jack Stoll on that side and then you take Dallas Goedert off and you motion him across and then you double up on him. But what the Eagles did was they lined up 3 receivers to the left. They put A.J. Brown in the slot. They motioned him across and they brought him back. He stopped inside the tight end. On the snap of the ball, they sent A.J. Brown across the formation. Jalen went read option to Micah's side. And when he pulled it, now Micah's, kind of caught in no man's land, because he doesn't know whether to come take Jalen. If he comes take Jalen, Jalen just throws the ball out to A.J. Brown in the flat. If he takes
Except
AJ,
he freezes even guys like Fred Warner, because he's so Fred Warner in that game against the Niners, man, I'll tell you, you want to like slow down. And I think Fred Warner, man, I think that guy's a bitch, man. He is one awesome football player, sideline to sideline, knocking guys out, intercepting. But Jalen last year in that NFC title game, Seth, how many times did he freeze him and then turn him into a step slower because he was so patient? Well, that's another gift he has.
But then that's the issue that the RPO and the read option creates for defenses, because the offensive linemen are allowed to be a yard to a yard and a half down the field. And if you're a true off the ball reading linebacker, the way you should be, and you see that guy fire out, you think that it's a run. So you come up to take your guy off, take the double team off your tackle. And the minute that he sees you step up, he pulls the ball off the read and zips it right by your ear on the slant behind you, And then they've got a way to do the same thing with Micah on the end of the line, okay? we're going to bring another guy, one more guy that you can account for. And when you can't account for that guy, now Micah has to make a decision. Do I take A.J. Brown to the flat, or do I take Jalen Hurts keeping the ball and running? So all game, he's just frustrated as hell, because when he comes and he takes, Jalen just flips it out to the flat to A.J. A.J. runs it in for a touchdown. He's throwing a hissy fit, because they can't figure it out. Now they'll come up with a way to figure it out this year. And the Eagles, I promise you, will have an adjustment for it, because I already see it in my own mind. When AJ comes and he does that in and out motion and he sits down and they snap it and they go read option, okay, they're going to bring an extra guy to account for AJ Brown. Now that means they're one guy less strong on the other side. So now you just take Dallas Goedert and you release him hard over on an over route. So now Jalen's got two options. Okay, you can take away the guy in the flat, but Dallas is running away from a guy coming in that same from the opposite side. So when Micah comes to get him, because there's going to be nobody to block him, he just flips that one over his head, for a big gainer. Listen, they have no real remedy for this whole read option thing, because there's not a guy that can really account for Jalen. That guy is playing free safety and he's too far away. So you got the extra guy, but my thing with Micah is, they're going to have to learn they're going to have to figure out, what to do. And to your point, listen, I've always said this about these pure pass rushers. These guys that line up in a true 30 front, they're really defensive ends on the weak side, because they're looking at the strength. They stand in the middle, and wherever the tight end goes, they go the other way. He's lined up on the outside, okay, on the weak side every single time. Derek Thomas, Lawrence Taylor, Pat Swilling, the list goes on and on and on. T. Sizzle, all of these guys, okay? So you can't get the tight end over there to actually run at them because they're lining up the weak side. But if you're a smart coordinator, this is what you do. You go 12 personnel and you go 2 tight ends, or you can go put a tight end on his side. He's going to go away from that side, okay? So if I got Jack Stoll, who's the second tight end over here on the Eagles team, and he's lining up on Micah Parsons, okay? What I'm going to do with Dallas Goedert is I'm going to shift him off the ball, okay? And I'm going to put AJ up on the ball. Whoever that Z receiver is, put him up on the ball. Now I'm going to go motion, okay? Because now it's too late. We're changing strength without them being able to adjust to it. So I'm going to send Goddard in motion and snap the ball and toss it that way, okay? And I got 2 tight ends on Micah driving his ass to Jersey all day long, okay? And I'm going to wear him out to the point where he doesn't even want to rush the passer anymore. Why they don't do it? You can do it as a tight end. You can do it this way. Put the other tight end at fullback and shift him up. Then take the wire off and bring him in motion. There are so many different ways that you can take guys like that out of the game that I don't understand why offensive coordinators don't do it. I just don't understand it.
Seth, are we looking at the next Jerome Brown and this kid, Jalen Carter?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And today,
dude, how many times in your life have you ever compared? I've never. How many people have you ever compared that you looked at that were Eagles or maybe someone else and said, that guy reminds me of Jerome?
Only other guy that I've seen like that. There's only a hand, and I miss some guys. I get it. And it's not me being disrespectful, to any of the guys.
Of course not.
Way. But when I think about guys on, cut from that mode, I think about a Howie Long. I think about a John Randall. Guys like Cortez Kennedy, Sapp. Those are the types of guys that that pretty much remind me of how Jerome played, and they're far and few between. Just because it's very hard to find a guy who can be dominant in the run and dominant pass rushing as well. But when you find a guy who has that unique skill set, he's hell to deal with. Because most guards and centers, they don't mind having to fight a guy who's one-dimensional. You know, what makes Aaron Donald so tough to block, especially when he was in his heyday, and I'm not so sure he's out of it yet, is the fact that, you know, he could beat you with power. Like I saw him last week stand Jordan Mailata up with one hand and come off and make a tackle. And I'm like, wow, are you kidding me? Is that dude really that strong?
He's
You know?
6 feet, Seth, 275, which is even more amazing.
But he is just as strong as an ox. And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
telling you right
550
now,
venture, all that.
when Jalen Carter realizes that, you know, the next move for him next season is to get his pro body, get his fat content down, and get his pro body. Once he get his pro body, you're not gonna be able to touch him. You're not gonna be able to touch him because he's already strong. And it's not just his size that gives him strength. He's strong. He's big now, and he's a little fluffy and a little puffy and a little, you know, if you lean him down to Aaron Donald, lean him down. He's probably 3-something. Lean him down to like 290, 295. His foot speed is going to get faster.
Jeez.
His muscle content is going to be greater, and he's going to have another year of experience at the NFL level. You're not going to be able to touch this kid, man. I'm telling you right now. I mean, I'm just looking at what I see. Like, if I could get my hands on him, I would get him down to, you know, 290, 295.
Wouldn't you play him more in the 3 technique too, Mac, with that quickness? And they slide him down on that 2 a little bit.
That's
3.
That's coming because when Fletcher Cox leaves, you're not going to play Jordan Davis. You're not going to play Jordan Davis in a 3. You're going to play Jordan Davis in a 2 or a 1 because you want the center and guard on the backside to make sure that they double him, and you want to leave Jalen Carter in a 1-on-1 in a 3 technique. But they're playing Fletcher in that spot right now, and you very rarely see the 2 young kids on the field together. You know, but when Fletcher is done, you're going to see Jalen move to the 3 technique, and Jordan Davis will be the 1 or the 2, you know, technique.
Seth, last one. I swear to God, I'm going to hold myself to this here with you. A.J. Brown, is he been a better acquisition? And when I throw T.O.'s name out, has he been a better acquisition as a trade, free agent, whatever you want to call it, being brought into this team? Has he proved to you that he's better than T.O.? It's been a better move for the Eagles than the T.O. move was. Can you compare that at all? Are they 2 different guys? Is it 2 different types of stories?
Let me say this. You know, T.O.'s a first ballot Hall of Famer, even though they didn't give him the honor of being a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is a game changer. You know, the chaos that was created, you know, is why you would ask a question like that, Dan. You know, he's A.J. Brown's a great wide receiver. He ain't T.O. I'm sorry. But from the standpoint of what he gives and what he provides for this football team, for this team, he's a better fit for this football team. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if you could take T.O. in his prime and put him on this team without all the chaos that surrounds it, listen, in my opinion, T.O. is one of the top 3 wide receivers in the history of the National Football League. I can't tell you or say that, you know, A.J. Brown is at that level right now or that he'd ever be on that level. But for this football team, this move by Howie Roseman to trade for him and then extend him on the same night that you trade for him was absolutely masterful, because what it did is it gave Jalen that number 1 guy that they needed, even though they went and drafted a number 1A. Then they turned around and drafted another and traded for another number 1A that threw this offense into the stratosphere, believing that if Jalen Hurts could be the guy, that they'd have all the pieces that they needed for a dynamic offense. And that's what Jeffrey Lurie was after.
Man, I can't wait to see how this stretch run plays out here, all these games coming up. Seth, it was real real privilege to be on your show the other night too. I thank you very much. We had a lot of fun. A lot of people commented on it too about how we are going back and forth on it too. So thank you so much for spending all the time you do with us, man. I can't thank you enough. You always are so kind with your time, and yet you have no time.
Hey, man. I just once you get me talking about football, I lose track of time. And oh, by the way, I do plan on having you, on my TV show. It's only a 7 to 7:30, 7 minute to 7 minute 30-second segment. I'm just waiting for daylight savings, so I don't have to get you up at 7 o'clock.
But listen, if we do it in Philly, I'm going to be in Philly in a couple of weeks too. So I'll let you know when I'm in Philadelphia.
Well, let me know.
Maybe that makes it easier.
Let me know. Maybe I can get you in studio. That'll be even better.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Seth. I love you, man. I appreciate you doing this. Hey, guys, don't forget to catch him, our post-game show, too, with all the guys, our JAKIB post-game show, each and every single Sunday following Eagle games. Seth is always there for us, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Seth. Man, gave us a full hour. Isn't he great to us? I mean it, man. I love that guy. Hey, by the way, speaking of love, I love our friends at Hooters, the official sponsor of the National Football Show, 40th anniversary, iconic Hooter girls, football in fall and Hooters. Can't get any better than that, right? Go into any one of the locations tonight, Thursday Night Football. All you have to do is find one of those Northeast Hooters in that area there, northeasthooters.com. Go to the website. You don't want to go into any one of the places? Use the app, hooterstogo.com. Get you there too, and some of the great food that they have. How about some of the great specials we have? Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, 10 boneless free. How about this? Wing Wednesdays, 1983, all you can eat, kids eat for free on Saturdays. 6 items, $6. Try the fried pickles. All the great happy hour specials, northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. And when you go into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Wait, still. Full hour, Seth Joyner. How you doing, right? We're quickly going to bring up our guy Tone here in a second. I want to say this to you, though, just before we go there. Shedeur Sanders is now making $5.9 million in nil money. 5.9. They're projecting he's going to make $8 million going into next year. Not with an NFL team. With the University of Colorado. He's why should he go play for a crappy football team? Absolutely insane. All right, let's bring my guy Tone in here. Get his thoughts on some of the things that Seth said.
Big Seth. Hello, sir.
Very interesting guy, isn't he, man?
Man, I love Seth, man. Every time we get to connect, picking his brain is just a wealth of knowledge, man. It's always a masterclass.
Absolutely. Hey, your take on what he said about Desai and how he sees how he thinks it's an upgrade. And get this, you and I talked about this the last couple days here, Tone. Sean Desai doesn't have the same personnel because he has more issues that he's fighting through. Injuries, new faces. Not a new scheme, but maybe a scheme he's got to be more accustomed with. Because remember what he comes from, Tone, he comes from that Vic Fangio pressure. And how the Eagles played a year ago, there wasn't pressure because they relied on the front four to get home, front seven, to get the sacks. Maybe he's also had to deal with that also going because in that Ram game, he must have said this on the sidelines. Shit, man, they're picking us apart. Cup's going to go for 250 if we don't do something different here. What does he do? He brings pressure. So to me, I think I never thought about the coordinators having to adjust to something maybe that they're not accustomed to. And I'm not putting Brian Johnson in that because he's worked with Jalen, but I am putting Sean Desai in that. That's kind of what I thought Seth was saying just a little bit.
Yeah, I would actually have to say I think Sean Desai is an upgrade because I've seen things from him that we never saw from Jonathan Gannon. Now, look, I'm not sure what he was told to do. I'm not sure what he was directed to do from Nick Sirianni. I know Nick Sirianni does want them to play this Vic Fangio style of defense, play back, nothing big, no explosive plays, play 5 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. I know that's what Nick Sirianni wants because they understand that there are some main stat categories that really dictate if you win games. It's turnovers, time of possession, and explosive plays, right? And all those things are on their side instead of the opponents. But Sean Desai, man, I just see a guy doing the best he can with what he's been given, especially with the linebacker position and the safety position being limited. The linebackers have played better, especially Nicholas Morrow. But Sean Desai, man, it really stood out in that Rams game. That first half, we all saw what happened. Those guys were getting pretty much eaten up. And then he comes back in, and it's an entirely different defense. How do you go from allowing damn near 200 yards in the first half, and then all of a sudden you allow less than 100 yards in totality in the entire second?
Fabulous.
It was a tale of two halves for the defense. So I have to give Sean Desai the edge because I see him doing more with less.
Okay, Tone, we've now seen it. We're now hearing it. Nakobe Dean's getting reps. Hey, we're seeing the politics of Howie here a little bit. And if you get even Seth didn't really want to go down that rabbit hole a little bit. He kind of even said, okay. And he kind of danced around it a little bit too.
Well, I don't have to, so that's a good thing.
But Tone, here we are, right? Here we are again.
Right.
And this is the kind of stuff that I've always questioned with the team is that, hey, man, Seth Joyner can't be the linebacker coach. But could you imagine walking into that coaching room and telling Seth Joyner, you got to play this guy and you got to put that guy in over a guy who's been really, how about this, really opening people's eyes because I don't think people really expected this from him.
I was always raised, you get what you earn. You know what I mean? You keep what you kill. So last time I checked, I ain't seen Nakobe Dean hunting. I seen Anthony Morrow out there hunting everything, elk, moose, everything. He deserves to keep what he kills until further notice. So, I mean, look, I got into a little bit of a Twitter debate with one of my homies, man. He does Eagles content, and his whole point was, Nakobe, he can play the pass, all that kind of stuff. In my mind, I'm like, how do you know that? You know what I mean? I've seen Nakobe Dean. I'm sorry. I've seen Nicholas Morrow do his thing. Nicholas Morrow is a guy who's actually ranked in the top 10 in damn near every category when it comes to the linebacker position, right? I believe he's ranked 12th in terms of pass defense. But I mean, what more can you ask for from a guy that was damn near cut a few weeks ago, right? So when you think about it from that perspective, I'm not going to upset what's going on right now. I just can't see myself benching a guy who has been producing. He's giving you sacks. He's giving you tackles for loss. He's not a liability in pass defense. He's always hitting the right angles in terms of run defense, right? He's a tackling machine. The entire defense right now is playing really well in terms of tackling. We don't talk about this enough. The defense is tackling very well this year in comparison to.
Compared to a year ago, you're right on. I hadn't thought about that. You're right.
So I don't know what Sean Desai is telling them, but for some reason, whatever Gannon was telling them in terms of tackling, it wasn't resonating the way Desai is. But when it comes to his linebacker position, again, Nakobe Dean, I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm not throwing him in the mud. I'm not saying he can't play football. But as it stands right now, we already seen on two separate occasions, training camp and week 1, he can't stay healthy. But you know who can stay healthy? You know who has been able to stand up? You know who has been able to weather the storm? Nicholas Morrow. He's been getting physical down there. He's been in the mud. He's been in the trenches going crazy with these guys, him and Zach Cunningham. Why would I mess that up, Sills? Why? Because I like him. Because he's a bull.
I think because you drafted him.
And that's they call it, the NFL also means not for long as well. So my thing is, Nakobe Dean, you were drafted in the 3rd round, but how long does that status matter? Not for long, in my opinion.
Remember something, the personnel people can't play. So they play the game instead by keeping them on the roster. Nicholas Morrow to the Eagles, I mean, he's important right now because he's playing well. It's the only reason. Because Nakobe Dean has money and an equity pick of a 3rd rounder invested in him. That's a lot. Mm-hmm. That's a lot for an organization that doesn't spend a lot at linebackers. The most productive linebackers that you've had was
guys that are hungry.
Right,
guys that are hungry.
And one was a guy who was cut by the Chargers and the other guy who was a UDFA, and you had no equity in him. Now you have equity here, and you just cut a 3rd rounder in the offseason. You see where I'm going? I mean, that front office, they keep eyeballs on that. And if you're a free agent on a team in the NFL, you've got to go over and above. And I think these guys are. By the way, to your point about being a better tackling team, I think it's got a lot to do with the 2 defensive tackles in there playing the way they're playing it. There's better tackling going on because they're not getting the 2nd levels and they're not getting the 3rd levels. And I think it's got to do with Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow putting people on the ground, that you're seeing better productivity on getting people on the ground all around as a unit.
Yeah, let me say this, right? Real quick. I've been hearing on Twitter, I've been reading on Twitter, right? Hey, why don't we just rotate the linebackers in, to try to get Nakobe Dean some reps? Why don't we try that out? And if it doesn't work, we can just go back to Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham. What are we running, a linebacker camp? I'm not in the business of experimenting with guys right now. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. This isn't a rebuilding team. We're not the Giants. We're not the Commanders. I don't give a damn about experimenting with the linebacker position. Since when do we rotate linebackers now? Because you like the guy? We got to stop this effectuation with these players, man. At the end of the day, who's producing, who's not? Who can stay healthy, who can't? If you're on the wrong side of that line, I'm sorry, baby, you got to pack your bags or you got to sit on the bench and drink some ice.
Lake Titicaca summer camp. That's what we're running here with the Eagles, right?
We're running Sills, we're running a linebacker camp. Hey, listen, give us all the linebackers. We're linebacker you. We're testing you all out. Everyone gets a snap. Okay, everyone gets a snap.
Everyone gets a snap and everyone gets a cupcake. All right. Hey, let's do this here. I said that this game coming up with the Jets is one of the most important games on the schedule for this. Okay, we're 5 in. Now we're going into 6. I mean, Tone, we got to see a full 60-minute ball game eventually, because on the tail side of this, you got the Dolphins, a Commander team for the last 2 games has given you problems. I mean,
True.
they're 1-1 in the last 2 games versus you. So they've given you issues. Their coaching has improved. I don't give a shit they got killed by the Bears. Against you, they play you well.
Right.
Then you got Cowboys. Then you got the bye. Then you got the Chiefs, Bills, Niners. Any one of those 3 teams, not the Cowboys. Told you, man. That's like a chick that consistently cheats on you. I'm not going there any longer with the Cowboys, man. I'm sick of her cheating on me. I don't care how good she looks, how good she is on table 6. I don't care what kind of drink she serves. I don't care. I'm not going there any longer. But that Chiefs, Bills, 49ers run, any one of those 3 teams can win the Super Bowl. You got to have played a 60-minute ball game, or you're not beating those teams.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. This is where the rubber has to meet the road, right? You always say this. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles, they have not put in a full game of complete football, all 4 quarters. For some reason, it's always been something lacking in each quarter, right? And I think the passing game is coming along. The running game is always going to be there. I think the defense, for some reason, even though we did see what we saw in that Rams game, still the defense hasn't earned my full trust, right? This is going to be a season-long project with this defense. But in terms of the schedule,
didn't we say that? We kept telling and we kept prepping people that we were waiting for kind of like week 8 to get a better assessment on who they were. You know, you and I kind of knew that this is kind of what it was floating towards. And I think we've been spot on with this defense. I've actually, what's been impressive, Tone, has been the run defense.
Absolutely.
Because I thought they were going to have dual issues, pass coverage because of the safeties and linebackers, and also run defense. Because it's been 2 years in a row, the run defense is what's keeping that thing afloat there, in my opinion.
Absolutely. This is the best the run defense has looked. And the pass defense right now, they're the middle of the pack, maybe bottom half of the league in terms of that. So when you put all that into perspective, these next games are so crucial, right? You're going to, like, the Jets. This is an important game because the last thing you want to do is overlook a team. Now, the Eagles are never really in the business of overlooking anybody. That's the one thing I do love about the Philadelphia Eagles. They come in and handle business every single week, and you never go into a game, or even if it's a win or a loss, you never feel like, damn, that team didn't look ready. They didn't look prepared. They got punched in the mouth. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really see too many of that. We haven't seen that since 2021. So in saying all that, I expect this team to be prepared for the New York Jets. I fully anticipate that. But you're right. This is an important game. You don't want to overlook it. You want to at least give yourself the best possible chance. And you want to establish a good trend going into that Miami game, right? Because you don't want to go into that Miami game still questioning your red zone offense. Because a team like Miami, they're going to put points up no matter if it's a bomb or if they're driving all the way down the field. They know how to score fast, and they know how to score in a hurry. So when you put all that into perspective, this Philadelphia Eagles offense has to get the red zone offense taken care of. You know, the way the Eagles run offense, you know, they're really good for giving you 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives, right? That's a good formula to beat the Dolphins, because the Dolphins, they thrive on getting as many possessions and putting as many points on the board as possible. You limit their possessions, you score in the red zone, then you make this game really physical. I think you can beat the Dolphins, but you got to take care of the Jets first.
Off topic here. Who's Mr. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts or Bryce Harper?
Oh, man. You know what? Right now, because they're in the playoffs, and they're doing their thing, and Harper is fresh off that 2 home run, 4 RBI night, right now, Bryce Harper has the city's heart right now. Right now.
Okay, he's Mr.
Right
Philly.
now.
Oh, so this is a moving title belt.
Of course, but only between those two. Joel Embiid right now, he's the Philadelphia Jester right now. But other than that, you know, Jalen Hurts and Bryce Harper, they rotate the crown every single week, man. And right now, Harper, he's in the playoffs. The way they're balling, man, you got to give it to him right now. It's only week 6 in the NFL. Jalen Hurts, you know, he has to continue to do his thing. He's Mr. Philadelphia too. You know what I mean? It's one day and one
Greg,
week.
there's no way you're from Philly, because Philly guys don't go both.
Okay?
That's funny. Hey,
Listen,
Sue,
man. Listen,
there's nobody in Philly that will go. You either have an opinion or you do not.
Well, I'll
Dude,
tell you this, right? Well, I'll tell you this.
That guy was gangster last night, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how can you, like, first of all, you see the cap Hurt season, right? I need another cap that say Bryce season, because Bryce snapped last night. But I'll tell you this though, right? You question my Philadelphia pedigree, right? Born and raised in North Philly, 10 by from Temple, from Temple University, man. 23rd and Dolphins. Stop playing with me, man. Don't question my Philly pedigree, man. Don't question my Philly card, okay? I do this. Water ice, salt pretzels, baby, cheesesteaks. Don't do that. Hoagies, you know what I mean? Fried wings, you know what I'm saying? Salt, pepper, ketchup on wings, fried hard, baby. Poke a hole in my top. Lemonade, homemade iced tea, baby, from the Chinese store. Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that, baby. I'm too Philly. Don't do that.
I love that, man. All right, how about the Cowboys? Did you see the new comment coming out of the Cowboys today? I think it was one of their DBs. He comes out and he goes, every great shooter has a bad night. And, that's kind of what it was for us. We had a bad night against the Cowboys, hey, but you move on to the next game. You keep firing them up. And, I forget the guy who had the quote, but he's now comparing it to like a guy like Steph Curry having a bad night. That it was only a bad night against the Niners.
Okay, if that was a bad night,
I guess. Hey, what about the bad night against Arizona?
Oh my God, yo, why do the Cowboys do this? Look, I'll tell you this, man. I tweeted last night. I've never seen like the fallout from this Cowboys loss to the Niners is unprecedented. Have you ever seen a fallout like this after a loss in the regular season? I've never seen anything like it. We're already on Thursday. They should be focused on the Chargers, but we're still talking about the 49ers.
I've never seen more people make excuses for the Cowboys. I mean, credited national people making excuses for that ass beating. Like, I think sometimes Tone, I think sometimes when you're in the media and you get so focused on talking about one thing all the time. Now, I get that for local radio and TV because nobody in Philly wants to hear any shit about Detroit unless you're playing Detroit. So
Exactly.
I get that, okay? But when you're talking about making excuses up for a team just so that you can get clicks because it's relevant because the Cowboys are the highest rated, and then you turn around, it's like talking about the Lakers. Why would I talk about the Lakers when the Lakers are not even like one of the top 8 teams in the West? I mean, maybe top 4 teams in the West. Denver is the team. Phoenix is the team. Golden State. I'm like, how many times do we talk about LeBron and the Lakers and Dak and the Cowboys? And I'm like, holy shit, man, these 2 teams are going nowhere. And I think we get caught up in that as media guys sometimes.
Listen, man, the reason the Cowboys are getting babied right now is because, think about it, man, these national guys, they want to make sure their key 5 to the Jerry Jones Thanksgiving banquet still works, man. They want to make sure they still get invited to the Jerry Jones mixer, okay? That's why you see people making excuses for the Cowboys. But the reality is, listen, Shannon Sharp talks about this all the time in Club Shay Shay. He's in the business of W's and L's. We that's all we serve here. We don't serve nothing else. We serve W's and L's. Now, when you come in, we provide what you earn. Okay? W or L, what you want. The Cowboys serving up 2 L's right now. The Cardinals game, that should have never happened, but it did. The 49ers game, we thought that'd be more competitive, but it happened the way it happened. The reality is, man, they're pretenders. And they want to be America's team. They want to be held in this regard. And I still don't understand why we call them that. You know what I mean? They've given us 30 years of negligence, 30 years of just non-productivity. Like, I don't understand how a team can be this disjointed and still command this much respect.
Yeah, but
I don't understand
the conversation of going, hey, it's just a game. Just happened.
It's just a game now. Okay. Y'all been talking about this game all
Michael Irvin and I were talking about this last night. That's the kind of game that you don't forget. That's the kind of game that eats at you. That's the kind of game that makes and puts a fire even more so on you, that will never happen again to you. Because I mean, I talked to a couple Denver Broncos. Remember when the Broncos went back-to-back and they won those back-to-back Super Bowls? I think it was Stink. He told me the 2 years before the last Super Bowl, they got beat in the playoffs by the Jags at home.
Wow.
And
Embarrassing.
we said that loss resonated so bad for us, we won the next 2 Super Bowls.
I don't
Because
think that'll
we
work for the
thought
Cowboys.
we had just as good a team that year that we could have had a 3-peat, and that we rolled with those next 2. That they got beat by the Jags prior to them 2 double-peats, them 2 back-to-backs.
Right.
And he's like, and the Cowboys, they just roll them off their shoulder, these losses. Hey, that's one thing I like about the 49ers. I'll tell you one thing, man, about that event coming up here, and it's going to be an event at the Link, is that the Niners want them. I want them to want that, because that's going to make that game more electric. And the Eagles have been in the light. What's going to make that game great, and why that game will be, in my opinion, the most competitive game of the year. I never thought I'd say this. The 2 best teams are in the NFC. You know, remember you and I talking like this, Tone? Hey, all the great football is going to be over in the AFC. That's not quite lived up to that hype. Okay?
Yeah,
you know what's lived up to the hype? How about this? And I don't think this gets enough credit with the Eagles. You know, most teams have those dips after Super Bowls. They've had dips in performance, but not in record. And I'm telling you, man, look at the Rams, look at the Bucks, look at all these teams that follow up them Super Bowls, even 2 years removed. They're lesser teams. This team is retooling on the run. Most of the teams, they rebuild after the Super Bowls. They're retooling right in front of us, and they're 5-0. I can't – the only team I can think of is probably the Patriots that did that during that run.
The thing about the Eagles, man, when they lost that Super Bowl to the Chiefs, sure, you know, there were many things to argue about, the field, all that kind of stuff, yada, yada, yada. But if you notice, this team has completely closed the door on the 2022 season. They have short-term memory now, and they realized that they were so close to beating one of the best quarterbacks that ever played this game and won the Super Bowl at the same time. It's like killing two elks with one arrow. You know what I mean? Like you were able to just, you had a chance to make history in such an amazing way, and they know they were so close with the quarterback that everybody doubted. But today is today, and they understand that in order to get back to where they were, they can't afford to misstep. They can't afford to overlook anybody. They can't afford to play with their food. Even though, like you said, they have been a little bit disjointed on the field, right? We haven't seen a complete game from them like we've seen from the 49ers, but they know how to win games. I think that's the biggest thing they learned from last year. They've learned how to win games, and that translates no matter who you're playing. But when you go up against those top tier guys like the Dolphins, like the Niners that's coming up, and you're right, that's going to be an event. That game is going to be at 4:00. They need to flex at the 8:00 because that game is going to be prime time. One of the most viewed games we've seen because of what's led up to it. When you think about everything they've experienced up until now, the Eagles have learned how to win games. They have to put everything together for this matchup. You know what I mean? The 49ers, right? I firmly believe they looked at the Cowboys as if they were just in the way. Think about that.
Oh, no.
Like
a means to an end.
A means to an end. I think the matchup that they have circled really is the Eagles game.
Absolutely. Tone, I'm going to expand on something you said.
Sure.
You said they learned how to win. They learned how to win. I'm gonna turn that inside out. I think they know how not to blow games. And I think that is more of a skill set, because I agree with you. When you're having so much success, and since the 2-5 start they have, when you build up a resilience where you know what you need to do, that something doesn't get away from you. Like, you know, the one thing since that 2-5 start, I can't think of one game. And the injury, and you know what? I'm going to dub them with the asterisk, the injury losses. Okay? The only game that got away from them in the last 2.5 years was the Washington game.
Yeah.
Okay? Was the Washington game. And that got away from them. Maybe the first year Tone, they learned how to win. They went 9-8. They didn't realize they were that good. Nobody did. You were coming off a 4-win season. Nobody even knew who the kid was playing quarterback. You got into the game. And by the way, you got blown out by the GOAT. Gee, really? I wonder how many guys have been blown out by the GOAT before in a playoff when he's won 36 of them. You know what I mean? I mean, he's blown out a lot of great players. I'm not hanging that moccasin on Jalen going, hey, see, you got killed by Brady? Okay, so did Manning.
Right.
I mean, you want to go there? But then after that year, I think they learned how to be resilient. And I think that's the difference right there. It's not learning how to win. It's not learning how to just not show up. And the Cowboys haven't learned not to be a team that can't show up on a consistent basis.
You know why? Because they've been given everything. That's what that's what happens when you've been given everything and you've had to earn nothing. The Cowboys, when you put on that jersey, you automatically are given respect. When you put on the Eagles jersey, you have to earn the respect. As a matter of fact, you have to take it. No matter what we do, no matter who we beat, there's still a certain level of respect the Philadelphia Eagles have to take. The Cowboys, when you put on that jersey, they just give it to you. They think they deserve to win the Super Bowl. They think they're owed it, right? They think they're entitled to it. But since when do we go through life when you're just handed things? Since when does something great come to those who don't earn it? You want to win the Super Bowl? You better put your feet in the dirt and knock the man out in front of you. I've been really, I've been getting into a lot of boxing lately, right? And the reason I like boxing so much is because it's mano a mano. No matter what you said yesterday or the day before,
clarity.
It's clarity. You got to prove it to me now. And that's the difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Eagles, they always ready to prove it. The Cowboys, they always want to give it to them. But guess what? They got what they deserved against the 49ers. And I think that's the kind of loss that either does one or two things to you. It's either going to make you rise or you're going to crumble. The Cowboys aren't built to rise because they have no foundation. They have no spirit. They have no souls in that organization. It's all about the glitz. It's all about the glam, all about the money and the ladies and Jerry Jones banquets and making sure you got the royal blue bow ties and all that, showing up to all the events. No.
Don't you understand if they lose, they'll be covered more.
It means nothing.
If they lose, they'll be covered more this week.
I bet they will. And guess what? Jerry Jones will be happy with that. Hey, listen, as long as I meet my quota, as long as the check clear, I ain't got no fear. And guess what, man? The Eagles, man, that's why I love being from Philly, man. I love it, Sills. You get me fired up because everything, we got to earn it. Everything.
I never thought about it until you just said it. It's funny you should say this. When I put on a Miami Hurricane jersey back in the day, we were bigger stars than the Dolphins in Miami, and there was just a swag about us. And when I put the Buck uniform on, not so much. I agree. Look at the coverage of the Eagles. They get about 10 seconds of coverage while the Cowboys get entire segments and shows. But then when I put the Cowboy uniform on, hey, dude, we trained at Thousand Oaks in California. Then we played against the San Diego Chargers, and we went to Los Angeles and spent 2 weeks in LA. Bro, you walk in with your Cowboy shit on, dude. You were.
Listen, man.
Let me let me look at this.
No, I got you. Go ahead.
Bars, they knew you were Cowboys. They were like the cow, and I'm like, it can't be that. It can't be it can't be that. I mean, and Michael Irvin's going, damn right, it's that. And I'm like, can't be this. I had a Buck uniform on 2 years ago. No one gave a shit. I had a Cowboy uniform on in LA. The Cowboys are here. The Cowboys are here. And I'm going like, and I know that burns you. Look at it.
Listen, man, Sills, I've being from Philly, you see the kind of people who are made there. You see what the team means to the people. I grew up in Raymond Rosen Projects, and when the Philadelphia Eagles won that Super Bowl, when the Philadelphia Eagles are relevant, when they're winning, the city can't be stopped. The city is undefeated. So this is how I look at it, man. Everything the Philadelphia Eagles have gotten, they have to earn it. The Philadelphia Eagles can go undefeated, Sills, undefeated. You know what they'll say? Who did they play? Who did they beat? Right, 17-0. You know what? They didn't go 18-0. It means nothing. You know what I'm saying?
The Philadelphia, my book.
The Philadelphia Eagles can win 3 Super Bowls back to back. Well, guess what? They don't have 6 of them. They move the goalposts every time. No, I'm not saying you, but every time with Philadelphia, They move the goalposts with Philadelphia every single time. But guess what? When it comes to the Cowboys, oh no, hey, listen, the star. You know what I'm saying? No, Dak, he's the guy. You know what I mean? Jerry Jones, he's money making Mitch. He knows what to do. He knows how to keep those cheerleaders going and the beer flowing. Nah, man, I'm not jacking that. Philly is coming for everything. I don't care if you're a Niner guy, a Miami guy, a Chief guy. Guess what, man? Rain, sleet, or snow, these Eagles train to go, Sills. Rain, sleet, or snow, we train to go. Everybody is food, and we starving.
I would never bring my Cowboy jersey. Hey, get this. You notice when Cobb comes on now, I told Cobb, I go, hey, man, you got some balls, man. You got that cowboy helmet. Look at there. There you go, Prince. You got that cowboy helmet sitting next to that Eagle helmet. You might want to take that thing down, man. Even Xander, I had the cowboy helmet up. He goes, man, I've never really said any shit about your setup. He goes like this. He goes, hey, man, you're going to have to take that down, man. It's not good, man. And it was funny for an entire week. Xander said we had trouble with the show going on. And then the next week I took the thing down. The thing was perfect. I'm like, was it coincidence or not? I don't know.
Hey, listen, man. I don't know, man. Those Cowboys got bad juju, but look.
Hey,
man,
one last thing here, man, on this.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you concerned about the Jet game at all?
I'm concerned about every game because
about
the reality
Florio
is,
says Florio's got 24-23 Jets.
Okay, Mike Florio. Okay, he is a lawyer, so he's trained to lie. So, I'll put it to you this way, man. Every game, I don't go into any matchup thinking we deserve to win. Remember, I was just talking about this, Sills. You got to watch it. You got to listen to me now. I don't go into any game thinking we deserve to win. We got to earn it. We're gonna take it. You dig what I'm saying? We don't go into games thinking, we can medal in the day. That's Cowboys talk. Okay. As Eagles fans, we worry about every game. We watch every snap. You know what I mean? We know every player's number on the back of his jersey. We know who's doing what and who's not doing what. You know what I mean? So, again, every game I'm worried about. The Jets, I'm worried about them because right now they're on the menu. But guess what? I'll take two.
Yeah, I don't want anything the Jets are serving, so I'm going to throw up all over
He's
them.
I don't want anything they're serving.
I don't want anything they're serving, so I'm going to throw up all over them, and I'm going to be so pissed off because I'm going to eat, I'm going to have to eat cookies that day. Cookies and water. So I'm going to throw up on you, kick your ass, and then I'm going to get ready for the Dolphins, and then I'm going to eat tuna. How you doing? Hey, Tone, great stuff, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you for always giving me the opportunity. It means a lot.
You bet, man. It means a lot to me, too. Thank you so much. That's called The Segment. We do that with our good friend, Tone. By the way, don't forget, football tonight, Thursday Night Ball. And we're inviting you to go into any one of the Hooters locations in the Northeast area. All you do is go to northeasthooters.com to find that location nearest to you. 40th anniversary. What is better than Hooters and football? Nothing, right? Official home of all Eagle fans, too. The King of Prussia one. HootersToGo.com. You don't want to go into any one of the locations. Use the app. The iconic Hooter girls will bring the food to you. You can bring it back to your house or go into any one of the locations. Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, get 10 free. Wing Wednesdays, 1983, all you can eat. NortheastHooters.com. That's NortheastHooters.com. And when you go into any one of the locations, do me a favor, tell them Big Sill sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate you coming aboard. Jason Cole, our Hall of Fame voter from yahoosports.com, will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk all things NFL. Thursday Night Football kicks off Week 6. We appreciate you coming aboard. There's reports out there now that Robert Kraft would be open to firing Bill Belichick. By the way, some comments about the Eagles here in a second. So far in the first quarter poll of the season, as we get ready to play into the second quarter poll, got a topic here for you. I haven't even gotten to the second topic yet. And we're going to look at some potential free agents that are going to be hitting the open market here. We're going to talk to Jason about that and with you as well. Think you'd be open to firing him? And would Bill coach somewhere else with an elite quarterback? If you're Belichick, maybe you'd pull a Brady. It's time for me to go. It's not going anywhere. I need a quarterback. Let me go to a place. And I like that. Who said the Chargers? Scott. Belichick to the Chargers. Got a pretty good personnel on that side of the ball defensively. I don't know if the Spanos family would surrender that kind of power because they like their general managers all the way back to A.J. Smith. You know, he had control. Tom Telesco has control. I don't know if they'd be willing to do that. I can't see Belichick not wanting to run down Shula. I think he wants that record. And I think he's going to do whatever it takes. I think he wants to coach 5 more years and then call it a career, whether he lands on that number or not. But he wants that number. He wants at the end of the day, it'll be no doubt. Regular season all-time winningest coach, postseason all-time winningest coach, all-time winningest coach when it comes to Super Bowls, all the rings he's got, all the accolades. He will be on the Mount Rushmore of coaching. He's not going to be if he stays in New England, because the more he stays in New England right now, the more he is diminishing his resume there. Todd Brady left. Who would begrudge Bill Belichick for leaving? The thing's out of gas. Shit happens. Okay? They have him under contract, trade him for compensation, and tank for Drake May. That's a brilliant idea. So wait a minute. How about this? How about this, Shooter? You trade him to Chicago. You trade him to the Bears. and he gets to draft Drake May, or he gets to draft Caleb Williams? Would Chicago do something like that? How about Belichick to the Bills? How about Belichick to the Cowboys? Could that be something of an open conversation? You know, Belichick almost was hired by Jerry Jones. He was almost hired by him. Would he want that coach in the build? No way. No way. If Jerry's smart, he'd do it, but I don't know he'd do that. I don't know. All right, let's move on from that. Who has been the most impressive Eagle so far in the first quarter poll of the season? Who has been the most impressive Eagle in the first quarter of the season? Jalen Carter over A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's on pace for 1,800 yards. Swift is on pace for 1,700 yards from scrimmage. Nicholas Morrow. This is a tough question. Who has been the most impressive Eagle in the first quarter of the season? Jake Elliott, I guess. I think it's between Carter and A.J. Brown. Who's been more impressive, Carter or A.J. Brown? God, A.J.'s putting up great numbers. The rookie effect may force me to say Carter. That's tone. Elliott, Brown, Carter, Reed, Blankenship, Swift. I'm gonna go Carter. But A.J. Brown has now pushed his name into the conversation with the elite wideouts. He's now in the conversation of the elite wide receivers in the NFL. Has he not? He's pushed himself in that conversation. So many choices, JoJo says. Well, I don't think Devontae Smith has been impressive. I think he's been really good. I don't think Mulata or Lane have been over the top great. I don't even think Kelsey's been over the top great. There's been more sacks, more hits on the quarterback. There's been more pressure on your QB. In the run game, the O-line is exceptional. Pass game, they've been kind of spotty a tad. Goddard's been a complete non-factor. So it's not like, and on defense, Reddick just got going. Sweat's kind of been quiet. Fletcher's been good. The linebackers have been surprising. Your corners have not been good at all. Swift, when Swift is in, we have scored 6 and 9 trips to the red zone. Then Gainwell is 1 for 6. Like it or not, our offense is just different with Swift in it. Yeah, hey, but Warrior, the Eagles don't look at DeAndre Swift as a red zone guy. They just don't look at him that way. Okay? I think Sweat's been quiet. How many sacks does he have? How many sacks does Josh Sweat have? Just to piss you off, Nakobe Dean. I'm going to get to him in a minute. Supeta has been impressive. Well, it's been really one game, but okay. Well, a game and a half. He's got 3 sacks in 5 games. Not horrible. Not horrible. Let's see. 6 and 10. Okay, he could be on pace for 13 sacks. Have another 13 sack season. He's kind of like that, isn't he? You look at the end of the year, he's got 13 sacks. He's got 60 tackles and like a ton of hits on the quarterback. Sweat has 2.5. 2.5 after 5. Not horrible. Not horrible. Okay. After 10 games, if he continues the trend, it's 5 sacks after 10. Okay. 17. Okay. You're talking about right around double digits again. It's probably going to pick up a bit because you're going to get more opportunities. Why are you going to get more opportunities to sack the quarterback? Well, let's take a look at that. And why these sack totals will probably go up, Tone. How many passing attempts do you think the Dolphins are going to throw at you? 50? Okay. 50? 45? Commanders will probably come back down to earth, 25. Maybe 35. I don't know. Somewhere in there. Cowboys are going to throw the ball 45 to 50. Chiefs are going to throw the ball. Shit, they could throw the ball 55, 60 times. Bills are going to do the same. 60 times, 55. I'll go 55. 49ers are probably going to be more balanced at 30. There's going to be a ton of opportunities for sacks coming up at this next part of the schedule because these guys all throw the ball. Look at how many teams you're going to be playing that don't rely on the run. The Dolphins, how's that running back doing with the Dolphins? Is he gone for the year? Is that kid, that running back, gone for the year, or is he out for just a couple weeks? Because the Dolphins run the ball, but if he's not in there, they're going to be a little bit suspect in the run game. The Commanders run the ball. They tried to. The Cowboys think they can. They can't. The Chiefs, Pacheco's picked it up a bit. He's running the ball more. The Bills don't run the ball. The Niners do. Got some the Niners are just as much of a mirror of who you are. Okay? Just as much. All right. I'm going to go Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter has been the most impressive Eagle going into week 6 and into the second quarter pole of the season. Who's been the most disappointing Eagle? Seals, who you got winning, Cowboys or Chargers? Chargers. Quez. I'm going to write these ones down. Slay. Quez. Bradbury. Nolan Smith. Penny. Dean. Edmonds. Jason Kelsey. He's not playing as good as he did a year ago. But he played at such a high level. Like, he's not the all-pro center right now. I think the guy in Detroit is. In the NFC side. I think what's his name? Ragnow? I think he's the Pro Bowl center right now. But Kelsey's not far off him. He could still get to be the pro. I just don't think the kid Ragnow is the better center right now. Well, he was 2 years ago, too. He's not balling out. No, he's not. Ragnow's been all pro. It's been him and Jason Kelce going back and forth. I don't think Juergens has been good at all. Okay, well, that's your opinion. I do not believe Jason Kelce has been as good as a year ago. New England stopped the run on you. I think did Washington too. It's good front four. It is. I would say this last week. They were good at. He's a great run blocker. Here's who if I had to pick the guy who's been the most disappointing so far, I think it's Slay. I think it's Darius Slay. And if I had to rank them, I would say Slay. Dean. Edmonds. Bradbury. I don't know how they're using Nolan Smith. And I really can't I have to give an incomplete to Penny. They haven't played him. Scott goes, Sills is still mad Slay blocked him. No, I'm mad because he sucks this year, like I said he would. Or you probably think he's playing well, though. 49ers come to Philadelphia. 49ers are a good team, but the problem is they keep saying we can't beat them. I love it. Keep saying it. Don't come to Philly thinking we're the Cowboys. I don't believe that the 49ers think that. I think the 49ers want your ass. I think the 49ers, and to what Tone was talking about just a couple minutes ago, that energized. There's an energy with the 49ers right now. Because you know why? They feel you stole something from them. They feel that they were a better team a year ago. They killed a team that you struggle against every year. They wiped that team off the map. Dallas is trying to lick their wounds. Do you know what really kills me about Dallas? Is that Dallas is licking their wounds. Hey, how about this one, guys? Think about this, everyone. Tone, think about this. You got your ass kicked when you're still talking about your ass kicking 4 days from the time you got your beating. Man, I got beat my ass. You know, when someone kicks your ass like that and they beat you up, man, you talk about that ass beating for the rest of your life, because it's like when your dad whooped your ass. There was one time when your dad whooped your ass that you remember for the rest of your life. When you get into a fist fight, man, you forget all the fist fights you've been in. But that one fist fight you got in where you got your ass kicked, you always remember that one time when you got your ass kicked. And the Cowboys are still talking about that ass kicking. Like when their dad took out the whooping stick or got the hickory stick and beat the shit out of them in the woodshed barn and beat the hell out of them, they're still talking about when dad took that thing off the willow tree. Man, dad took that switch off that willow tree, whooped my ass. You remember that back in 1966 or 66? Remember that? Man, I got my ass kicked big time. Man, they went there to that big old peach tree, took that thing off that peach tree, And I got my ass whooped. I must have been 10 years old. You talk about that years removed after that. That's what the Cowboys are doing right now. Man, I got my ass whooped so bad on Sunday. Man, I still got lashes on my back. Holy cow. My ass is whooped. You think I was born in 66? My wife was born. Oh. Right. Okay. They're still talking about getting their ass whooped. Remember we got our ass whooped in 66? Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, look worse than Earl Spence. Shit, that guy's got a big old shiner in his eye, man. That guy looks like when he was Conor McGregor getting choked out by a Beeb. I'm gonna smash. Hey, that's what this is gonna be. That's what that thing was like. Tone, I don't know if you're a UFC guy. I'm gonna smash your boy. Hey. I'm gonna smash your boy. That is one of the ultimate GOAT things of all time. It's one of my favorite Habib things. I'm going to smash you, boy. Oh, man, shut up. Don't talk about that. I messed up. She's here, too. It's no good. I remember my worst beating, skipping church. Oh, I'm going to smash you, boy. Hey, that's what you should get t-shirts. You know that t-shirt that says F Dallas that Kittle wore? Right? You should get shirts like this. I'm going to smash your boy. Have a picture of Purdy. A picture of Purdy and Hassan Reddick on it. I'm going to smash your boy. Oh, hey, dude, anything you want to play? Build this thing up, man. Build this thing up. Get some t-shirts made. Tone's always got like the Hurts season. Get a t-shirt that says, I'm going to smash you, boy. And there's Purdy getting his arm like this, and he's all messed up. His face is wincing, and there's Reddick smashing him and breaking his little chicken Purdy wing. And he's sitting there like this, and he's walking out, and he's in a sling. You got the on the back of it, you got a guy in a sling like this. I'm going to smash you, boy. Yes, sir, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm going to do for Jason Cole here, man. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a t-shirt. We're going to get some t-shirts made. And we're going to get those t-shirts for the hey, Tone, is it November 3rd or December 3rd, that thing? When that game is to be played. It's November 3rd, right? Right? It's November 3rd. Oh, man. Let's see here. December 3rd. Damn. Sills, where's your Eagles memorabilia in the room? Right here. Over there with Jerome. Oh, it's behind the hat. Hey, Big Sills. I was beaten with a paddle and belts. It was no joke. You'll never forget it. At least Kelsey leaves it out on the field. Very good. Very good. All right. Hopefully we're going to be able to connect with Jason Cole here in a minute. Hopefully we can get him to connect. It's December. Khabib is that dude. The greatest UFC fighter of all time, my opinion. Okay. I do. Okay. I really do. You see how he was told the champs 49ers, you got to prove they can beat us, not the other way around. Hey, I think the 49ers, they got a lot of juice from that game. I can't see you right now, Jace. Not yet, brother. Hopefully we get to connect here. Sills, how's it going, Jameson? All good. Thank you for coming aboard, my friend. Appreciate it very much. Yeah, we're not able to see you right now, Jace. No, we can't see Jason Cole right now. Maybe we can work on this thing here. Yeah, no. Let's see if we can maybe figure out a connection here to get Jason up here. Working on it. No, hey. Eagles 27, Jets 17, Swift 130 from scrimmage, Hurts 3 touchdowns. The 49ers are hot right now. Here we go. We're going to be able to get our friend Jason. Before I get Jason Cole on here, I want to tell Jason this is what I'm going to get a t-shirt made just because we told you guys. I'm going to tell Jason this here in a sec here. You know when Khabib goes, I'm going to smash you, boy. Eagle fans, I want you to get a shirt with Brock Purdy all bent out of shape like this, all broken up. And you got a thing that says, I'm going to smash you, boy. December 3rd, baby. This thing's ready to rock and roll, man. Let's bring our friend Jason Cole in. I can't wait for that game because Jason was right. I should have listened to you, my friend, about the Dallas Cowboys. They're like a cheating wife. They will always cheat. And Jason, I've never heard more excuses this week. It was a bad night. We're just as good as they are. And this
they got smacked. They got smacked. They got beat up in that game. Right? Like that game was uglier than that score indicated because they really got pushed around on the field. Now I'm not saying that Dallas can't beat San Francisco because the previous 2 times it was very close. But this San Francisco team has improved and they're healthy and all those other things right now. And they're playing about as well as they can possibly play here over the first 5 games. And when they're playing as well as they can possibly play, Dallas can't really touch them. What Dallas needs is for the 49ers to regress a little bit, and then the Cowboys have to play as well as they can possibly play and make everything happen and not have Micah Parsons disappear in this game and not put Dak Prescott in so many pressure situations. And then they might have a chance. But when Micah Parsons comes out after the game and says, oh, no, we're like, dude, this was not close. McCaffrey fumbles at the 1. Otherwise this game's a runaway even faster.
They took the guys out in the 3rd.
I know they did. This could have been a 70-point kind of game if they'd wanted to keep going. They just said, look, we're done, and this game's over. Like my favorite moment, and this is a player, they call back that 40-yarder to Ayuk down the left-hand side, and this is early in the 3rd quarter, first possession of the 3rd quarter for San Francisco. He throws it, 3rd and 3, they get 40 yards out of it, holding call, bring it back. And you're like, okay, now it's 3rd and 13. You can at least force a punt, but maybe you can get a turnover right here or maybe a sack on Purdy. You're in position now, Cowboys. And this is 21-10 game. It's still a possibility if you can make something happen here. And what does Purdy do? He drops back. He throws a 42-yarder right in the middle of their defense. That was an FU throw. That was I'm taking you out. I don't care. I'm going right at your heart and putting a dagger right through your chest and ending this game. And they get a touchdown. It's 28-10, game is over. That was that kind of a play by Brock Purdy in the 3rd quarter. And that's where they got to be able to get to him.
How about this, Jace? I don't know because, again, we got to segment it. But in his last 10 games, Brock Purdy's thrown 22 touchdowns and 4 picks. In all your years covering the game, have you, with a 73% completion percentage, have you ever seen a guy in your life, Marino, that came on?
There's 4 guys that I can compare him to. Okay. To say the beginning of their career was this good. Okay. It's obviously Tom Brady his first year. Okay. Now, they didn't do a lot with Tom Brady, but they did win a Super Bowl, right? And he made some key plays. Kurt Warner's first year as a starter in St. Louis, where they averaged 30 a game, right? And I just wrote this story for the 33rd team this week, okay? So Kurt Warner wins a Super Bowl. Offense is awesome in St. Louis, right? Marino, first year he starts, and then going into the second year where he throws the record 48 touchdown passes right there. And the fourth one is Ben Roethlisberger, who goes 13-0 to start his career with a team that obviously was defense oriented, right? But those four guys, and two of those are first round picks, right? Two of them are already Hall of Famers, all four of them are going to end up in the Hall of Fame, right? That's what Brock Purdy's done. Like, that's the comp right now in terms of just like what he's accomplished. And I'm not saying he's the same talent as those guys.
Right.
Like, don't put that on.
I'm not either.
But the results are the results. And you can say anything you want about it. He's surrounded with talent. He's got a great system. He's got a great team. You can say all of that. You still got to make plays. You still got to get rid of the ball. And it's not just 22-4. If you include the playoff games that he played in, his 13 games that he's played the majority of it, right? Take out the Philly game because he got knocked out early in that game. Take out some other games where he played along the way. But if you just talk about the 13 games, 11 regular season games, and 2 more in the playoffs he's played, 25 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. His rating is 113 and through 13 games. Patrick Mahomes' career rating is 105. Right? Like, and that's the record. And again, he's not that kind of talent. Brock Purdy he's not making throws on the run, off platform and all those things. I mean, that's not him, right? But man, he's making every throw that they ask him to make. And again, that 3rd and 13 play that I just talked about, he's not a big cannon armed guy who's, can throw it around defenders. He plants it right in the right place. This kid he's truly special on a special team. Like, all the timing is perfect for this to happen.
How about this too? It's not so much just the performance, obviously, and the production is there's supremium issue why we're talking about him. But look at the things that he's doing for the organization without even having to lift a finger. Okay, he's $937,000. The cap ramifications on that. This is how you build dynasties. You build dynasties in football like this because your quarterback gives you the luxury of 3 years of not having to pay him. Then you cover up that nightmare of Trey Lance by losing those 3 ones. Then you all of a sudden make the McCaffrey deal because you got a quarterback that gets him the ball, unlike what they did in Carolina with him. Now you're looking at everything, and look at Ayuk developing. Look at Debo is now almost the second guy on that offense. This guy has made everything around him. And you could say the same shit about Jalen Hurts in Philly. He's got a lot of talent around him. That guy's not doing what that guy's doing in San Francisco, and he's got the play caller.
I don't know if there's a dynasty here or not, because look, they've already been good for 4 years, right? And they've
not good enough too.
No, not good enough, but they've been awfully good, right? Like, most fans would sit there and say, I'd take their last 4 years over what I've had the last 4 years. Most. But I don't know look, I think that the priority for Kyle Shanahan, get one. Just, everything is set up for you this year. Knock on wood, your team stays healthy. You survive the regular season, some things happen, all those things. If that can finally happen, right? This roster is as good as any in the league, and you take your shot against anybody that, any all comers, whether it's Kansas City, whether it's Philadelphia, whether it's Buffalo, Miami, whoever you get, right? You're like, look, we'll take our shot against anybody right now. And they're, right now playing I think they're playing the most consistent football in the entire league, right?
Yeah.
Game in and game out. Get the one title. And yes, theoretically, you can keep doing this because Purdy's cheap. But remember, Kittle's is a little long in the tooth, right? McCaffrey's been banged up during his career. You got to get one before you start talking about anything else. And if you're Kyle Shanahan, after being so close for 4 years, you just got to sit there and go, I got to get one. I got to finish this one time. Especially you're Kyle Shanahan, where you made those calls in that game against Atlanta, for Atlanta against New England, and you've been living with those calls for years, right? You were
Yes,
this
sir.
close, and you made a couple of bad calls. It doesn't mean you're a bad offense coordinator. You're a genius of an offense coordinator, but you made a couple of bad calls in that game when you were this close to winning a Super Bowl. You got to get one. So get that one first.
I said this about the Eagles in the NFC East. It's funny. People go, well, now the Eagles have a 2-game lead on the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Eagles have a 2-game lead on the Cowboys now. And I said, a 2-game lead? The Eagles have a 10-year lead on the Cowboys. They do so many things fundamentally different, Jason, that look at what's happening now. I don't think the Cowboys are a better team than they were a year ago. And in the last 3 years, I'm seeing them regress, not get better. I don't see a better team this year because, again, the 49er game, you and I can go like this. Okay, well, the Niners are an elite. Okay, the Cardinal game is the one that is the asterisk for me because that's a team that's probably going to be in the top 5 in picks, and they ran you over. I mean, the Eagles are retooling at 5-0. They're retooling. The Cowboys are making excuses for getting killed. That's the fundamental difference between those two organizations.
Look, we can go plank by plank with whatever you want to do, talking about why the Cowboys aren't very good, or certainly not as good as people pretend that they should be. Right? They're not getting it done. And I don't know that it's all Mike McCarthy's fault. I don't know if it's Dak Prescott's fault. You can blame a lot of people. But this is the history of the Cowboys over the last basically 30 years, ever since they won their last Super Bowl. They're trying to they're trying to recreate that somehow and get right back there and do it really fast and taking shortcuts all the time. Instead of, okay, no, you gotta build this thing and do it right. You gotta have the right people in place. You gotta make sure that you're deep, as deep as you possibly can. You have to have football people in charge making good football decisions, not an owner who's a wannabe coach / wannabe GM running the show. It's just that doesn't work. Okay, because his mentality is too geared toward, okay, let's get the immediate payoff. Right? Well, no, this is not an immediate payoff thing. You got to grind this thing out. And right now they're not grinding it. They're not doing things that should put them in a position to dominate games like against Arizona. Put a team like Arizona away and then be ready to play in a big game against the 49ers without having to talk about it. Like Mike McCarthy last week, before that game, shouldn't have had to talk about how big a game it is. Jerry Jones shouldn't have had to talk about how the Super Bowl goes through San Francisco to get his team fired up. Not for a regular season game. You should be waiting on that for when it's a really truly meaningful game in like week 15 or 16 or in the playoffs, right? Where that's the kind of emotion you want to get. If you're trying to get to that emotional high right now, in week 5, you're not going to be able to sustain that all the way through the remaining 12 weeks of the season. It just doesn't happen. And I think they have the completely wrong mental approach.
2 last questions for you here. How about the conversation now that the Steelers are potentially kicking the tires on John Gruden on being the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh? I mean,
is that true, or is that just Duloc? Is that Jerry Duloc saying, "Oh, Tomlin knows Gruden, therefore it would be wise"? Because that's how I sort of read that as Duloc throwing out Gruden's name because they know him.
So you think it's a throw against the wall one?
Kind of. Maybe it's a way. But that's where it came from, as far as I can see. It was Jerry just throwing the name out there. But look,
Pittsburgh makes sense for that stuff.
well, it's probably the only place he can come back
Yeah.
and have some kind of shield because he's got Tomlin there as a shield and Tomlin to vouch for him. That's the only way he's going to overcome, the accusations that he's a racist, is to be hired by a guy like Tomlin. And yeah, they do know each other. I know Tomlin's pretty tight with Canada. I don't know why. I don't know why, and I think Tomlin's putting his own job on the line too much by being so tight with Canada, but he's stood by him for a long time, and I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Was Tomlin in Tampa when Gruden was there?
Yeah.
Is that how they know one another?
Yeah, he worked for Gruden. He worked for Gruden. He was
he was on that. He was on that staff. Because then he worked for Monty Kiffin.
Yeah. So look, I don't want to say other than when I watch Pittsburgh, it's a high school offense.
It's terrible.
In terms of design. Say whatever you want about the Patriots and how bad their offense is right now. And there's a few teams, the Giants are awful right now. But Pittsburgh has pretty good talent. I think the Pickett kid can sling it a little bit, right? And they got Pickens out there on the outside, and Johnson and the running back. They got 2 running backs who are pretty good. And their offensive line's not so bad as it was last year. And when I see them lined up and they've got 4 wides, and the 4 wides all run individual patterns rather than you got 3 on one side and let's stack them or bunch them and have them run crossing routes underneath, under each other so that you can confuse the secondary and at least get somebody open quick. Like, this is really basic stuff. I mean, this is not advanced. This is not advanced play design we're talking. This is not Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan kind of stuff. It's what you see with every team out there, and they don't do it. They make it really hard. They make it really easy for the defense and really hard for Pickett.
Finally, here, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you the impact and the importance of Butkus's career and what he meant to the National Football League and what he meant most notably to the Hall of Fame, because when I grew up, Jace, there were a few names that were synonymous with pro football. The name Butkus was synonymous with pro football. He's one of the names that I think – is he on the Mount Rushmore of pro football guys?
Well, I think Mount Rushmore is pretty crowded, so I don't know if I think there's a good 20 names. Like, you go Hallis, Paul Brown's up there, guys like Shula Lombardi, stuff like that. But talk about players. All you have to do is say Butkus. Like, that name, right? It's like saying, Sayers, Unitas, Butkus, Manning, Brady. These are guys who go by one name, right? Namath. Namath's career achievements, in terms of stats may not reflect it, but in terms of impact, it does. So, Butkus is like that. He's a defining player in a generation. I mean, he's one of the 2 greatest middle linebackers of all time. And I had an argument with somebody, and I said, it's Ray Lewis in this generation, and it's Butkus of that generation, right? Say whatever you want. These guys are monsters. They define what football is supposed to be about. And somebody said, well, Lambert should be up there. Yeah, Lambert was great. Don't get me wrong. Lambert was fantastic. He was a tall, skinny guy who, played in the right system where they kept, the Steelers kept people off of him and allowed him to roam around.
Yeah, the guy Joe Green in front may have had something to do with that.
Yeah, too. Right. But Lambert would have been a great player anywhere he played. But he's not Butkus. Like, Butkus, like, by himself, just like he was 6 foot. What was it? 6'5", 240 pounds at a time when he was just a monster out there, and he could take on anybody and knock anybody around. And he was an athlete, and some people say he was dirty. No, he wasn't a dirty player. He was just so much bigger and stronger and athletic than anybody else that he defined that era. And he was a great football player. He wasn't just a big man.
You know what, too, Jace? I said this about the era that he played. Isn't it crazy that certain cities were defined by that position? Concrete in Philly with Bednarik, New
Yeah.
York, you had Sam Huff. In Chicago, you had Butkus. In Green Bay, you had Nitsky. These guys were the faces and how teams in America looked at those respected cities and how they respected the league and what the league was about. Tough, hard work. It's kind of like that's why I think his importance, yes, all that stuff about it playing and how great, but to me, it personified the time like Chicago. I mean, you could say whatever you want about Jordan, but dude, that's a Bears town and it's a Butkus town. Green Bay, that's a Nitsky town. Okay, now maybe you throw Favre in there or this and that, but those guys were so revered back in the day, Jason.
Well, I mean, part of it is, look, we were at the time in the 60s and 70s, we were revered military type figures, right? Because we were coming out of a post-war era. So I don't want to get too far into some soliloquy about history, but like the guys who were coaches were, guys like Lombardi and Landry,
West
and Noel.
Point.
Yeah, these were all those guys. Those guys were the faces of the game, and then the linebackers were. The quarterbacks weren't. I mean, yeah,
Right.
you had Unitas and Namath, but they weren't necessarily they're not what quarterbacks are today,
No way.
right? No, it was those
Maybe
kinds of guys.
Joe. Maybe Joe Namath.
Maybe
Outside of that,
Joe was fun, because Joe was fun. But the bottom line is that the country identified with the sort of defense military style that was emblematic of those coaches and those linebackers that you're talking about. So yes, those are the figures, and Butkus is at the top of that totem pole of great linebackers. He's the guy you measured other linebackers from that generation until you get to Ray Lewis. And then Ray Lewis became the measuring stick for that generation of linebackers, starting in 96, and on. We measure guys by Ray Lewis, just like we measured guys by, Otto Graham for a while, and then John Elway. And then now we're getting into the next group of great quarterbacks where we measure everybody by Mahomes or Brady.
I have a tough question to ask you about the process of the Hall of Fame, and I wonder if you know. And I don't want to go too deep into it. Why is Dana Stubblefield on the ballot for the Hall of Fame when he's in prison?
Because he's eligible for the first time, or he's eligible still, because somebody somebody may have asked to keep him on there or not. But guys are eligible.
Wasn't there a kid from New Orleans, that Sharper guy?
Yeah, Sharper was on the ballot for 1 year, and then nobody voted for him.
How come that process had? And I'm not saying you or
because
anyone,
you don't exclude. I mean, I think the simplest answer is you don't exclude guys for off-field conduct. It's you get into the Hall of Fame based on what you did on the field. So theoretically, Dana
So would you vote for? You wouldn't vote for a rapist.
No, I'm not. I would never vote for Darren Sharper. I'd never vote for a guy who's.
I think it puts you
convicted
guys in
of-
very
of
uncomfortable situations when you got names like that on that ballot.
But look, you just understand the process. You see it. I mean, look, there's 125 names on that list, or whatever it is, right? However names you look at, and you go, okay, Dan Stubblefield, and then you just move on.
I think it's a revered list that should have.
No, but this is an eligibility list.
Okay.
Okay, this is the guys who are eligible to be there, to be voted, and they get weeded out. Okay, so he's not going to make the top 25.
No, I know that. I'm just
top 15.
saying it looks weird.
It does, but again, to hold true, because if you get into guys in prison, what crimes count that you remove guys? I mean, then you're getting into a whole sort of moralistic side and judgment that the Pro Football Hall of Fame really doesn't want to get into. I mean,
would you have voted for OJ if OJ was acquitted and he had just been in a 5-year window of being eligible to go to the Hall of Fame?
No, probably not.
Well, it's off the field stuff.
I understand, but there's certain things that, I mean, look, Darren Sharper I didn't vote for.
I know. I just
And let me just say this: Darren Sharper. If you go look up his career,
no, I agree. He's a great player.
yeah, there's an argument to be made that he deserved to be in the top 25 and maybe even in the top 15.
15.
I don't think he's good enough to have made it into the Hall of Fame, but he deserved some run more than that as a player.
I get it.
But I'm just not going to do it. And if that means that I get excused from voting, okay, then put somebody else up. But I think that most people are going to agree with me. Like don't deal with this.
Yeah,
we're not doing this.
I saw the name and I'm like, wow, Jason.
Well, we had the big argument about LT and his drug
How did
issues.
you guys deal with that? With all his
I wasn't on the committee then, so I don't want to speak. I just know that Paul Tagliabue.
Well, how'd you deal with Ray Lewis?
Well, Ray Lewis was problematic to me, but I wasn't gonna keep him out for it because that thing is so murky. I don't know what really happened, but I have a pretty darn good idea that OJ killed those two people, right?
Yep.
Even if he was acquitted, okay, we all know he probably did this. Feel pretty darn strongly about that. Okay. And he's still not looking for the killer, but I don't want to get into that.
No, he's got a heck of a podcast now.
Whatever. But I mean, I just like I said, I wouldn't put him in. I wouldn't deal with it. And that was my stance on Darren Sharper. LT, most of the crimes that he committed were things where he was harming himself. I don't think that he, at the time, he's done some other things since then where you go, oh, that's a problem. But he didn't. It's a matter of degrees, and I would put LT in and put him in again. If it had been up to me, I would have put LT in then. I would put him in again. Darren Sharper, I draw the line.
Was Ray Lewis the first ballot?
Yeah, he got in on first ballot.
He got in on first ballot. Hey,
I remember there was part of the discussion because I brought it up, and one of the things I brought up because I got jumped on right away. I said, "Look, we had T.O. on the ballot with Randy Moss and Ray Lewis," and I said, "Look, guys, I know we have T.O. on this ballot, and we've had our problems with T.O., but don't." If we're going to put in Ray Lewis this year, which we should do, we better not be talking about what a bad teammate T.O. was. All right? Don't give me the bad teammate thing when Ray Lewis was participated in a situation where two people ended up dead. Again, I'm not saying he's guilty. I don't know what happened, but he certainly didn't help. He obstructed justice. He committed a major crime in that one. I'm not going to hold him out of the Hall of Fame because of it, because I don't know what happened there. And I don't think that he did this. I mean, that's just my guess. I don't know for a fact. I wasn't there. But I'm not going to hold T.O. up if I'm voting for Ray Lewis. And I'm voting for Ray Lewis. So if I'm voting for Ray Lewis, I'm putting T.O. in now. And that was part of my reasoning at that point in time.
Finally here, there was a conversation, and Bill Cowher pushed back yesterday that Deion Sanders wants an upper tier floor of certain.
He's been talking about that forever, whatever.
Do you think there should be?
No.
So you think Laurie Butler belongs in the same shelf and on the same room with Deion Sanders?
Yes. They're all teammates now. Deion wants special privilege. Okay. He wants to have an exclusive club within his own club. And trust me, I'm not really happy with the total amount of guys that we're putting in the Hall of Fame right now. I really wasn't big into this.
Too many?
Yes, I do. And I sort of agree with that. But I don't run the Hall of Fame. I vote on the guys that they put up, and I vote based on the rules that they have there. But yeah, there are some guys who have gotten in lately that I'm like, I don't get it. I don't believe in this guy. I don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy. Other people do, and that's fine. Okay. I'm not the be all end all. But I also don't buy into Deion's self-aggrandizing BS. Okay, because this is Dion wanting to be even more special than Dion already is. Okay, that's what he wants to do. And like, sorry, Dion, you're in the Hall of Fame. Just because you don't want to have your bust next to Leroy Butler or whoever else you think doesn't deserve to be next to you, sorry, screw you, okay? And I love Dion, right? I love Dion as a player. I love what he's doing in college football. But sometimes Dion's going to get called that he's full of it. And right on this one, Dion's full of it.
Okay. Well, hey. Okay. I'm gonna say this to you here. Okay. Not everybody's got a grant. Okay. Not everybody comes from a college that has a grant to it. You know what I mean? Like, so Dion's just speaking from the heart. Okay.
Well, fine, he can speak. I'm not saying he doesn't.
Just because he wants to be special doesn't mean he has to. He's coming from the school.
Dion can argue anything he wants to argue. I don't have a problem with that. And some of what he's saying, I do agree with, but it doesn't mean I'm going to buy his solution. I would rather put less guys in than have this special wing of the special of the special. Like, here's one. You talk about Bill Cowher. You now start talking about too many guys in the Hall of Fame. Bill Cowher's, like, I'm always looking, going, yeah, I don't know.
Bill Cowher's not a Hall of Fame coach.
No, he's not.
You know why he's in the Hall of Fame?
And
then
he worked TV. They had a process, and Cowher got in. And
was that a blue ribbon deal?
Yeah.
That Bill Cowher's not a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But he's in. Okay.
Mike Shanahan's more of a Hall of Fame coach than that guy.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we talked about Buddy Parker a couple of weeks ago, and we have Buddy Parker on the list this year. He does not deserve, in my view, and again, I have one vote. I'm one guy. I don't think Buddy Parker's a Hall of Fame coach. And now I will listen to the argument, and I could be persuaded. I could be convinced. But yeah, Mike Shanahan, Mike Holmgren, there were three guys on that list who jumped out to me. Shanahan, Kraft, and Holmgren. If they had put any of those three up there, I would have said, cool, right? Any of those three. They didn't. They put up Buddy Parker. I'm sitting there going, how'd that happen? And I asked somebody on the committee, how'd that happen? And it was, look, this is just how this thing works.
You think Mike Holmgren's a Hall of Famer?
I would like to see him discussed at the very least. And yes, I think there's a good argument for Holmgren to get in. I'm not sure he's going to get in, but I think there's an argument for it. And if we're putting in guys like Bill Cowher, and we're putting in guys like Dick Vermeil, and we're putting in guys like Don Coryell, we should be discussing Mike Holmgren.
Don't you think Tony Dungy is also in that Bill Cowher conversation?
No, I think Dungy's more important and more consistent than Cowher.
It's because
I back that one. It was close. I'm not saying that was easy, but I think that Dungy's was better than Cowher.
Here's why I questioned. I mean, do you think Tony Dungy over or underachieved in Indianapolis?
I'm sure there are plenty of people would say he underachieved, but I would also argue that team existed at a time that was really rough when you've got the Patriots sitting there. Okay. Like that's a hell of a duel. And look, Belichick walks into the Hall of Fame, in my view, right? Like that's just
completely
right. Absolutely, whatever. He could lose the rest of his games this season for however long he coaches, right? I don't care. Like he's already done enough. He goes into the Hall of Fame. Andy Reid has done enough. He's going into the Hall of Fame. Those guys. Dungy was a discussion. I think Dungy deserves to get in there. I think there's a historic value to Dungy. I think that there's something larger that we're talking about with Cowher's just Cowher. I mean, like this sort of like George Seifert. Like
I love talking with this because to me, when you bring up Dungy and you want to bring up significant coaches, shouldn't you bring up Dennis Green?
You can, but like Dennis Green was a very good coach. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but the impact he had were all the people that came off that coaching tree that were African American that really made impact.
Danny Green was a very good coach. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He had an impact. He has a place, a notation.
So Don Coryell was more of a coach than Dennis Green and more impact.
Yeah, Don Coryell's design of offenses was more impactful, and his legacy is more impactful. I mean, Don Coryell gets you Joe Gibbs. Don Coryell gets you a style of offense that's unique. Don Coryell gets you, like Don Coryell goes into St. Louis and wins despite old man Bidwell. He then goes to San Diego and wins despite, Gene Klein, right? There are certain people who win in spite of the people that they work for, right? Dick Vermeil went to Philadelphia and won in Philadelphia despite who was it? Leonard Toast? Yeah, Leonard Toast. He goes to the Rams, and wins despite Georgia Frontiere, right? Like there are people who do things that you have to remember. What are the obstacles in the way? And sometimes owners are obstacles.
The Bidwells. I mean, think about when you think of Coryell. Look at it. That guy won division titles in St. Louis.
Right.
Like when he was there.
With old man Bidwell. There. Right. With old man Bidwell. Right.
Yeah.
With Bill Bidwell running the show. One of the cheapest SOBs in the history of this league. Right. Didn't know how to run an organization. And still somehow Coryell found a way to win. And I'm not saying that Dennis Green didn't do some things that were wonderful in Minnesota, but he didn't accomplish as much. I don't think he changed the game. I think he helped some guys get started. He did a lot of really wonderful things. It's not quite good enough in my eyes to get in the Hall of Fame. Whereas Tony Dungy, yeah, he's good enough to get in the Hall
of Fame. How about Schottenheimer?
No.
206.
I understand. You got to draw a line.
He's fourth all time.
I understand. He's a hell of a coach. Doesn't deserve to get in.
25 years he's had one losing season.
I understand. He's a great coach.
4-14 in the postseason.
No. No. You got to draw a line. You got to draw a line.
206. He's got more wins.
Nice
than
man.
Noel.
Wonderful man. All those other things. Great
more
leader.
wins than Noel.
Understood. Except in games that were really important, not so good. Marlon McCree still haunts the legacy of Marty Schottenheimer.
206 wins, dude. It's not.
Hey, I was at that game. I was at the game against between Denver and Kansas City. Elvis Gerback trying to march him down the field, and Marty Schottenheimer in a panic, a full-on panic of how do I avoid letting John Elway have the ball one more freaking time. Panic, complete, total panic. Cleveland blew it. Okay, didn't finish. Had him at the 2-yard line, couldn't keep him. San Diego intercepted
14-2.
4th and 11. And goes for it against a Brady-led team that couldn't move the ball. It was, like he gave them opportunities to win the game. Like even before that game, your boy Jimmy Johnson says on TV, Marty, don't be panicked, Marty. Play it straight. You have the better team. You're at home. You should roll these guys. You don't have to take chances. You don't have to gamble. And what does Marty do in this one? He gambles on a 4th and 11. No, don't do that. Punt the ball, kick a field, do whatever you're going to do, but don't go for it. Didn't train Marlon McCree. Intercept it and fall down. Fall down. The game is over. We host Indianapolis the following week. We go to the Super Bowl. We roll the Bears. The Chargers that year embarrass the Bears. The Colts just beat the Bears. The Chargers would have it would have been 40 points. It would have been like the 49ers Chargers Super Bowl, which was just over in the second quarter. Marty blew it. Okay. I can't say it. And he's a good coach. He's a very good coach. Dan Reeves, very good coach. Not the Hall of Fame.
I got to tell you one last story before we go here.
Okay.
So my cousin Dave Pizzuli's playing in Cleveland, and it was for the drive.
Yep.
And Bubba Baker's on the team. And Marty comes walking into the locker room. They're all sitting around, and Marty starts doing this. You're going to love this, Jace. And Pizzuli's sitting here. Bubba Baker's here. Bob Golick's over here. Marty comes in and goes, "You guys, you think for meal moans. You guys, this is the greatest thing." And the guy, they're watching him. He's in a full out bawling speech. Tears are just ripping out of his eyes. "You guys, I'm so proud of you. I love you guys.
Before the game or after the game?
We're going to go into battle." Bubba Baker looks over at my cousin and goes like this. "Man, I don't know about you, man, but I don't know if I want my general crying going into battle."
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I love Marty Schottenheimer. I really do. He's a great quote. He was fun. He was entertaining. He was part of the show. He was great. But you'd say Hall of Fame, and I just go, no, I just can't do it. I can't.
Can you see Big Bubba Baker going,
yeah.
"What, your general
I don't want my
crying
general crying." So
Hilarious.
great.
Thank you, Jace, for all your time, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Anytime, dude. Be good.
You got it. The great Jason Cole, NFL Hall of Fame voter. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild days.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills Power Hour. So here's that chick's name, Allison Masterangelo, or Masterangelo. She was complaining, and she was complaining about the sprinklers being on the Brave side for the media people, and it got her purse wet, and it got everybody upset on the Brave side because the Philly grounds people had the sprinklers going on, and it got a lot of the Atlanta Brave gear wet. Oh, do I love that kind of stuff. Oh my God, dude. You are going to, and she tweets this with Philly fans watching this. She tweets this. I'm like, why would you go there when you know you're going to be crushed? Why would you go there? That's not a faint of heart fan base. You could do that weird shit in New York and LA. You know, you can't do that in Boston, Philly, Chicago, Pittsburgh. You can't do you can't do that there. They're not going to tolerate that. And get this, no pun intended towards anybody here, but they don't give a shit if you're a chick, you're a dude, you're black, you're white. You're going to get killed. You're going to get killed. Okay? I mean, yeah, you know, how unprofessional. You're like, unprofessional. I'll tell you something. I listened to that game last night, and I got to give it to you. I'm not going to talk baseball. I'm just going to talk about environment. That's a fun environment to be involved in. You know what the greatest thing about, hey, let me ask you this. Tone, I don't know if you've ever been involved with this. Calvin, thank you, brother. I don't know if you've ever been involved in this. You know what people were saying around the country? It's like being at a football game. When you go to a Philly game, yeah, but isn't every sporting event when Philadelphia sports is humming and that team is winning, isn't every game like a football game? Whether it's a Sixer game, whether it's a Flyers game, whether it's an Eagle game or a Philly game. It's because of passion. It doesn't really matter the sport. What do you think there's like? See, that shows you the difference in fan bases. They don't have Sixer fans. They don't have Eagle fans. They have Philly fans. It's different. In New York, you have Ranger fans. You have Mets fans. You have Yankee fans. They're not New York fans. Now, maybe it's because they have 2 to 3 teams in certain markets. Maybe that's kind of what fractures the fan base, is that there's multiple, right? Hey, there's like multiple, right? So it kind of maybe fractures the fan base. But last night, can I tell you, listen, I'm going to give you guys the real I like that. Here, let me keep it with foot. Hey, I'll take care of it, David. I got it. Can I tell you what that reminded me of last night? That thing reminded me of like when the Yankees were playing back in the 70s. And you were at the old ballpark, you know, with the vomit seat colors and all that stuff. And the place was like just an intimidating place. And you hear that fan base acting like that. I'm not talking, if you notice, I'm not talking baseball. I'm talking about fans here. Okay. That place was intimidating, Yankee Stadium. All the comebacks and Chambliss and all that stuff. That place looks intimidating. If you're like Arizona, say Arizona comes in and they end up having to play in the NLCS, okay? And you play in the NLCS against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, that's going to be a whole different world, man. And playing in that soft-ass Los Angeles. sweeping the Dodgers is not a big deal. Hey, and by the way, one last thing, and I will say this about Clayton Kershaw. He has to be the absolute greatest pitcher who has ever sucked in the postseason in baseball history. Hey, Sills, I have to produce a show right after yours for Xander. Can you try to end the show the 57-minute mark? Absolutely, my friend. We will. I'll tell you what, Tone, we'll get out at 50 for you. If that's cool, if that's all right. And we'll do it, give you a little bit more time to stretch the legs there and get you up to speed there with doing that. That to me is without a doubt one of the greatest environments I ever saw. And Clayton Kershaw is he's the sorriest Hall of Fame postseason pitcher in baseball history. Okay? All right. I want to get to some names here now on potential trades and see if some of these names jump out at you. Because, how about this? Let's do this here first before we go here. How many people believe that Howie Roseman is going to make a move by the October 31st trading deadline? How many people believe Howie's going to make a move by the October 31st trading deadline? No doubt he will. Yes, I do. Tony, you think he makes a move? $400K in cap room? Well, you can always restructure contracts. You can always, Hollywood, you can always make things fit. No, unless we lose. Okay? Before the Dolphin game. That's 2 weeks before the bye. All right. Let's look at these names. Howie has something brewing. No way he doesn't. Okay. Here's our guys that I'm hearing that potentially could be moved by October 31. Now, obviously, the Eagles are not going to be in need of this guy, Ryan Tannehill. I think the Titans are going to move him. A lot of money, not as much production. They're still kind of in it, but they really aren't. He could be moved. Jets. Bears. Patriots. The Patriots are going to be sellers. Okay? So, Cardinals won't. Carolina, maybe. Ryan Tannehill will be moved. I got from a head football coach that told me that here are the names that potentially could be moved. Kirk Cousins, Minnesota Vikings. One more loss, you're going to see a fire sale so that they can get a quarterback up there for Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins to the Jets. Would Kirk Cousins to Washington? Back to Washington? Especially if Washington is still in it. Washington? Here's the big one. Would the Eagles have interest in Derrick Henry? There's going to be a fire sale in Tennessee. Would you have an interest in bringing Derrick Henry in for your goal line, your power running? Could you imagine you had Derrick Henry and DeAndre Swift as your running backs making a Super Bowl push towards the end of the season? it's not so much that I want to give him 30 carries. I want the 5 yards a carry he gives me. And I want that guy in the red zone knocking guys out. Could you imagine Derrick Henry running behind the Philadelphia Eagle offensive line? Holy cow. You know what you might also do? Think about this financially. So if you put Derrick Henry back there and you took some snaps away from DeAndre Swift, your chances of signing DeAndre Swift dramatically go up. Because what you don't want to see is that guy get 1,500 yards and 400 yards receiving. And before you know it, that guy's an $18 million guy in the open market and you lose him because you can't even make a play for him. Derrick Henry behind the Philadelphia Eagle offensive line would be the scariest thing I've seen. Probably, if I were to put that in comparison, it would be the scariest offense if power running team since Emmitt Smith. Derrick Henry could even be since a rookie Campbell. He's still got gas. Man, Derrick Henry behind the off. Would you do it? Would you give? How much would you spend for him? How old is Derrick Henry? Let's do this first. How old is Derrick Henry?
29 years old.
He's 29. Derrick Henry stats. He's got 328 yards and he's around 4 yards a carry. 3.38 to be exact. His only 100-yard game so far has been against Cincinnati. He went for 122. And get this, they've limited his carries. He's had 50. Usually he's a 28 carry guy. He's got 86 carries. And what is that? 79, 80, 1 to 2 to 3, 4 to 5. He's got like 8 or 9 more carries than what Swift has. Behind a horrible O-line. You put that guy behind that line, that thing will automatically go up to 4 or 5 to 5 yards a carry behind the Eagle O-line. And by the way, since they're limiting him in carries, wouldn't you think that Derrick Henry you could get and snatch away for a 4th rounder? I don't think he'd be a 1-year rental. I think you could re-sign him. He's not a $15 million guy anymore. He's not going to command $15 million. One, the market's not going to dictate that, and plus 30 years old is not going to dictate. He's not getting that. So if I were Derrick Henry, isn't it important right now on trying to put the cherry on top of the career and having a Super Bowl championship? It's a $16 million cap hit. Ugh. Well, wait, Quan, then you would have to have Tennessee pick up the majority of that. That would cost you a higher pick then. Because if Tennessee, and it's a $16 million hit, then they're going to command maybe a 2 or 3 to eat the money to compensate that off. You're just not going to go here. Here's a 4th rounder and you eat the 16. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. So you're going to have to pay for them picking up the contract. And you have to pay with a higher pick. So if you're Howie, you may have to come up with a 2 or 3 for him. 2 or 3, and they pick up the majority of the money. Would you do it? Stretch run. Derrick Henry in your backfield would be scary. That doesn't make sense for Tennessee. It sure does when you're trying to acquire draft choices. Ryan Tannehill, you're trying to get draft picks right now. They're not going anywhere. Remember, they're trying to rebuild their football team. Does it make sense? Makes total sense. It makes sense for Tennessee because they get out from the contract next year and they get a 2nd rounder. So you get a second rounder for Tannehill, and you get a third rounder for Tannehill, a second rounder for Derrick Henry, and you're going to get a first rounder next year. So you're going to have 2 2s and potentially 2 1s going into the April draft. How does that not make sense? Okay. How about this name? The Raiders are taking phone calls. Davante Adams. They are taking phone calls. Here's the deal. Davante Adams before October 31st to Kansas City. Now, I don't know if Kansas City would spend the money that's on that contract because it's a big-time contract. He's got big money on that contract. So that might be a lot of money. But Davante Adams could change a team's fortune, especially if you lose a wide receiver, or if you feel you're a wide receiver away. You know, would the Raiders trade him, Davante Adams, to the 49ers? Would they trade him to the Cowboys? Right? Could you see the Cowboys are going to be, do we not agree? The Cowboys are going to be desperate. Okay? They're going to be desperate. I think Dallas has got to have some interest in Davante Adams to put on the other side of CeeDee Lamb because they don't the Brandon Cooks experiment is not working. It's just not working. So you put Davante Adams and CeeDee Lamb, now you push yourself closer to the Eagles, at least at the wide receiver position. Hey, Yale, it's true. Jerry Jeudy's name is out there. The safety Simmons is also out there potentially. And that Sutton kid is also on the block. Which they will, Denver tonight. Denver's going to get killed. See, to what Quan's saying, okay, and how it makes sense. The Denver Broncos are not drafting a quarterback. Wow. Davante to the Lions? Boy, man, that would be insane. The Broncos can't get off of the contract. Tony and I were just talking about, you got $100 million cap hit if you move off of Russell Wilson. Next year, it's 90. You're not going anywhere for 3 years with that contract. Half your cap on a $200 million cap is tied into Russell Wilson's dead cap money. You're not going anywhere. You're not drafting quarterbacks. And nobody in their right mind would pick that deal up now. They're dead in the water with that. I don't even know if they could defer that contract out. I have no idea if they could defer that thing out for 20 years. They owe so much money. It hasn't even kicked in yet. He had Courtland Sutton. I don't believe the Eagles would be looking for another wide receiver, especially a high-end wideout. How about this guy? Daniel Hunter, Vikings. The Vikings are putting him on the block. He's a good football player. He's a good football player. Would you be I would send them a 4th rounder for him. I'd give you a 4th rounder for Daniel Hunter. 3rd tops. Okay. Maybe a 3, maybe, depending how productive he's been right now. Daniel Hunter, somebody to keep an eye on because, again, Dallas is desperate. Would the Vikings move Daniel Hunter to Dallas? I don't know. Would Davante Adams be moved to Dallas? Could be. And finally, as Peter just said, Budda Baker is, people are talking about potentially making a play for Budda Baker. And there's been a lot of talk in Philly for the last couple of years about him and whether or not, but again, you got to remember something. If you're going to go after Derrick Henry, that's got to be a 2 because of what Quan said with the money. There's $16 million cap hit. You got to go high end with that. You can't just give a 4th rounder up. And to what people are saying, you got to make it look good for Tennessee to want to do that. So you got to give him a 2. Devontae Adams, the Cowboys would have to surrender a 1 for him. They would have to give up a 1 for Devontae Adams, in my opinion. Okay? Courtland Sutton, potentially go to the Lions. You'd probably have to give up a 2 or 3 for him. Daniel Hunter, you probably could give up a 4 if you're Philly for him. And Budda Baker, you might have to give up a 1. Now, here's the deal. Do you think Jonathan Gannon has a good enough relationship with Howie Roseman where you make a move for that? And if you're Jonathan Gannon, don't you pick up the phone and call Howie Roseman and go like this? Hey, you know what, man? I know our relationship got a little rocky here with some of the things in the hiring process of me coming to Arizona. You know, I'd like to make it right. Is there a possibility that we could have a conversation here about us moving Budda Baker to the Eagles? And would you be interested in something like this, depending on what the package is? Now, most teams don't like to talk like that, especially teams that they're playing on their schedule, and you got them down at the back end of the schedule. So most teams don't want to do shit like that. But still, you're now in a position here where they're looking for draft choices and rebuilding. They've got to make a key decision. Okay? They would make a key decision on what they're going to do with Kyler Murray. They got to make a key decision on what they're going to do with him. Okay? So, are they going to move him? Are they going to move off him? They've got to determine what they're going to do. All right. We'll talk about tonight's game. Also, a couple more Eagle-related items. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Lane Johnson's cheating. Guy's cheating. Every pass play, illegal procedure, throw the flag. Illegal procedure. He's cheating. The guy's a cheater. He's cheating. Kelsey's cheating on the brotherly shove. They're cheating. No one's calling them on it. Look at Twiz. Look the rule up, son. He's cheating. Keep on effing hating. I love it. It just makes us want to beat the Niners again more. Lane, he's a cheater. Not cheating. Not trying. Phillies advance tonight. Probably so. If it's not called, we run it every time. Okay? Cheating, Tyler. You're cheating. Hold on, Joshua. Don't worry. Don't get your panties in a bind. I love it. Are you crazy? Hey, man. If you don't call it, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it until you call it. You're too dumb to see it? That ain't my fault. My job is to play football, to get every psychological and physical advantage that I possibly can on you. And I'm going to get it on you. And if I happen to master the snap count, don't you get it, guys? How about this? I think it's got a lot to do with the brotherly shove. Is that these guys have the mastered snap count down. And you have athletes at the key positions. Your tackles and your center are quick as shit. They're quick twitch dudes, man. He got guy Kelsey gets in a 4-point stance. And to me, I don't think it's Hurts. I think it's Kelsey. You guys keep talking about the 600-pound. It's Kelsey. Because Kelsey's got to get the movement. If he gets jammed back into Jalen, I don't give a shit who Jalen is. You're not pushing a 300-pound guy like that if you got 600 pounds in front of him, pushing him back. Don't you get it? They put 600 pounds on him. On each side of his shoulders, there's 600 pounds on him. And to me, this guy here has mastered the snap count. He gets in a 4-point stance. I'm talking Jason Kelsey. And he beats people off the ball in that play 92% of the time. And that's why that play's effective. Is because wasn't he like a wrestler too or some shit like that? Okay? Belichick, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I'm in. I completely agree. He's cheating. I hear people are going like this. And you got Mike Florio and all these guys. There's Lane Johnson cheating again. Well, then call it. I mean, you even have a side judge. You have a line judge. There's all kinds of refs out there. You have the front office in New York. Call it. If he's doing something, he has mastered the snap count. Do you understand that him and Jalen, he's got to know his cadence so to a point that there used to be a guy by the name of Dave Remington. Hey, he played for the Eagles back in the day. Dave was a center for Nebraska. And I'm telling you, and I swear to, hey, Yale, I need you here. Yale, you remember Dave Remington? used to be the starting center for Nebraska. Do you remember what he used to do back in the day? He used to do this. He used to snap the ball and the quarterback would go hike. And he'd be the first guy off the line of scrimmage. And it was like, get this, Remington would snap it, the quarterback would go hike. Well, he had a complete advantage on it. It's kind of like that. To me, it's in the snap on that brotherly shove. I think Jason snaps the ball before Jalen says hike. Because you have to have the advantage of getting off the ball. It's not about power. It's about leverage and timing and quickness. Okay? It's in the snap. He's in a 4-point. He's lower. And for him to get that ball back, he's back, but he has to snap the ball to get his hands up. He can't be pinned like that. He'd get pushed back. I say he snaps the ball sooner, and they can't see it because it's so in there, and you're so crowded in there. He snaps the ball before Jalen says hike. Lane, on the other hand, is taking that to another advantage. Okay? Jalen's going to go like this, on two. And he has practiced that cadence as soon as Jalen never, ever change. If you notice one thing Jalen never does to help Lane out, he never changes his cadence. 20. You know how some quarterbacks, hey, everyone, you know how some quarterbacks do this? 38, hot. They're trying to get an illegal procedure on you. You're never going to hear Jalen Hurts do that unless it's predetermined to slow down a good pass rush. You slow down good pass rushes because why? You're slowing down a good pass rush. That means the defensive line is onto your cadence. And so the old lineman guys will come to you and they'll go like this to you. Hey, dude, you got to change that shit up. They're timing it up now. Well, Lane's timed it up. And that's why they can't catch him. Because what the line judge is seeing, he's seeing the ball snapped, Lane kick his foot back, and it's all in the timing and it's all in the cadence. Those two guys have mastered so. I don't know if, do you think Lane learned that from Jason Peters? Okay? Do you think he learned that from Jason Peters? Did he get that from Jason Peters? That's really brilliant coaching and really awesome of the two players, man. Really, just absolutely outstanding. Let's see here. Big Sills, who do you think is better, Javon Hargrave or Jalen Carter? Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter has not only become the best rookie, Jalen Carter is putting himself in a conversation for the all-pro defensive tackle position. I mean, I don't think Aaron Donald's playing better ball than him. Personally, I don't think Aaron Donald is a better player this year than him. I don't think he's better. Okay? I think he's better. He's been playing as good a football from a defensive tackle position. The kid Quentin Williams that you're going to see this week is the real deal. Okay? He's the real deal. This kid has gotten out to such a great start to his career that it really does. And get this, you know what's great about who he's playing? You can't do this to him. Well, it's the Patriots. Well, it's the Vikings. Well, it's the Commanders. No, it's the NFL. And who's ever on him, he's killing. And I don't mean beating, he's killing him. Like, you have to account for him in a way where you're like this, okay, because this guy is living up to every single thing that we thought he was going to be pre-draft. I told you about this kid. And when he kept falling in the draft and he landed in Philly, holy shit. Man, I like the kid Witherspoon too. You know, and the kid Christian Gonzalez. I like those three guys. But for me, man, Jalen Carter, absolutely fantastic. I think Kansas City kills this team tonight. And I think they put Russell Wilson to sleep. I think they move on. I think Kansas City continues to get better. Man, I'm looking 30-10. I think Travis Kelce, I'm not sure if he's playing tonight. That could be a factor to make that game kind of closer a little bit because there's really not a lot of offensive firepower on that team. But I got a pretty substantial win for Kansas City tonight. So all good. Guys, I really appreciate it. Xander, Big Joe, thank you guys very much. Tone, keep killing it. Till Football Friday, man, we really appreciate it. 2 to 6 tomorrow. Also, we shall see you on the flip side.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.